At Capella University, education is as smart as the world around us. With the FlexPath format, you can take classes at your own pace, set your own deadlines, and even leverage your previous experience to move faster. Now that's smart. Learn more at capella.edu.
Because we want the radio side to be able to hear us, and we continue on down, scrolling. And where are we? Robert Moore, thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight, my friend. We really do appreciate earning your Super Chat just like that. It's a great way to support the show and what we do on a nightly basis, so thank you. John Hudson, how's your fedora? Jurassic Joey, say hello to all of us, and we'll say hello to you. All right, we are caught up for right now. Merle's on here in about 29 seconds. Our special guest, Margie Kay. She's got a lot of stuff going on. Man, this lady's busy. Very busy. UFOs, ghosts. She does it all. She literally does it all. We're going to find out here in about 15 seconds. Remember, if you're brand new here, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. And we're going to get going here in 5 seconds. So get your horns up. Let's get ready. Mr. Bumblefoot is going to rock us in. Of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Of course, it is that time of the month once again where from Vancouver, British Columbia, we are joined by Merle of the Paranormal Road Trippers, where we are in to Ghosts of the Great White North. We are kicking it off right now, and we got a very special guest tonight, Margie Kay. MargieK.com is her website. Now, this lady is a licensed private investigator, paranormal and UFO investigator, remote viewer, and author. She does intuitive medical diagnosis and is able to see inflammation, infection, disease, missing organs from surgery, broken bones, implants, and much more. She uses her natural remote viewing abilities to assist law enforcement, private investigators, and private individuals, and why not ghosts as well? We're going to get into it all tonight because she has a brand new book out. So let's say hello to our crew tonight. We have Merle and Margie Kay. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. Merle, how are you?
Happy to be here, as usual.
Always good to see your excitement coming into the crowd. Margie, thank you so much for joining us. It's really a pleasure to get to know you tonight.
Well, you as well. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's start with you, Margie, right off the bat here, because we all know Merle. We all love our Merle around here. But for you, you are somebody who is an experiencer. You are an investigator. Why tackle so many different projects at once? How do you even have time to sleep?
Well, I don't sleep a lot. My mind is constantly going. And I gave up a long time ago trying to just concentrate on one thing because I'm just one of those people that can't do it. I've got ADD, and I have to do multiple things at once or I'm just not happy.
Oh, I know that feeling. All too well. For you, being in UFOs, being an intuitive, being a paranormal investigator, do you have a love for one more than the other?
No, I love them all equally. And that's the problem. That's why I have to do all of them. I mean, if there's a Sasquatch investigation or if there's an animal mutilation or UFO sighting or ghost problem, I'm on it. And I enjoy doing all of it, but I also believe that anybody who is an investigator of any type really needs to be well versed in all of these things, because a lot of times there's crossover, and an inexperienced person or a person who only has experience in one of these fields will often miss things. And so I enjoy learning about it and teaching about it and doing it.
For you, going back way in time, do you remember your first experience?
Oh, yes. Most definitely. My first paranormal experience was when I was 11 years old. And my sister and I had gone to bed. It was dark in the room. She was in her bed across the room from mine. And I looked at the foot of my bed. I saw this white thing, and it just formed it from this like fog into a really solid looking face, but it was transparent. It was a head, just this disembodied head floating at the foot of my bed about 6 feet off the ground. And I just looked at it, and I had no idea. I knew it was a man's face, but I didn't recognize it. And I said to my sister, I said, "Do you see that at the foot of my bed?" Well, she started screaming. And then my brother and my father came running up the steps, turned on the light, and the head disappeared because they turned the light on. I figured out later, what happened, that it wasn't dark. And my father asked me what it looked like. So I tried to describe this, and he ran and got a photo album and opened it up. And he says, was it any of these people? And lo and behold, it was his father, my grandfather, who died before I was born. I'd never met, I'd never seen a picture of him before that. No. And so that was my first introduction to the paranormal.
How old were you when this happened?
11.
11. So here you are, 11 years old, still, turning from young kid into young teenager, and you got a lot of things going on, and now you throw this. Did it all of a sudden open up your entire intuition after that?
Well, my intuition was open before that. I knew that I was psychic before I was age 3. And my whole family knew something was up, because I was predicting things and knowing things I couldn't know and seeing things that other people didn't see. But at that point, I knew there was something to ghosts. I knew ghosts were real, and that was my grandfather, and he was trying to contact me. Now, I could see his mouth moving, but I couldn't hear him. So that would come later. The clairaudience would come later. At that point, I was just clairvoyant, and I could see that. But as the years went on, every year, right around my birthday, usually right before, right on my birthday, some new ability would come in. And I found that happens with a lot of people right around their birthday. So that has continued my entire life, and it's just, grown exponentially.
When did you start really looking into the paranormal? Was it after this incident with your family member, or did you start taking it seriously as an investigator? When did that happen?
That was right at that time. I started going to the library and checking out every book that I could on ghosts and the occult and anything paranormal. My mother bought me a book on Edgar Cayce so that I could understand what was going on with me, and that was the first book I read about psychics, and the first time I realized that there were other people like me, because nobody else around me had my abilities. So that really got me on the road to awakening, gradually. And, I was on this learning quest, but it was mostly by myself at that time, because being so young, I didn't have accessibility to go into groups or meetings or, meeting other people. But when I got older, by the time I was 15, I was telling some people about it. Well, actually what happened was my science teacher did a section in the class on ESP. And so he obviously had an interest in it to bring that up. And he pulled out the Renner cards and did a test with all of us. Well, I was extremely accurate, so he pulled me after class and said, "Would you like to do some tests? I'd like to do some tests with you and a couple of other students." So he got this special room for us, and the two other students would test me. One of them would ask questions, and the other one was watching to see if I was cheating. And I was so accurate that after about 3 weeks of this, he said, "We're not going to do this anymore." And I was upset because he was really the only other person I'd been able to talk to about this, because other people had made fun of me, and I'd learned to shut up, and I didn't tell the other kids or other teachers about what I could do. And so I was really upset, and I said, "Why are you doing that?" And he says, "Because you're scaring me."
Wow.
Because I was so accurate.
Your teacher.
And that wasn't the first time that happened. That has happened a number of times since. But that was the first time I really had validation that I could do this. And so my parents were always very open-minded. They were very intelligent, very open-minded people. And they never told me I couldn't do something or something didn't exist. Like, a lot of people, especially when they're kids, if they see something paranormal and they say something to their parents about it, the parents a lot of times will say, "Oh no, that's not real. That doesn't exist. Just ignore that," and they lose that ability, or they just stop it. But I didn't have that. My parents were open-minded. They wanted to know more. So I feel very lucky as far as that goes.
Yeah, you're very lucky in regards to having parents like that, because so many people grow up with the fact that their parents don't believe them, their family isn't believing them, and they almost feel alone on their own island right in their own family yard. I mean, you were very lucky about that.
Yeah, I was very lucky. In fact, my whole family, my brother and my sister and my grandparents were open-minded about it. And they never questioned that. After a couple of years or 5 years of this, they realized this is the real deal, and they would start coming to me to help me find lost objects or ask a question about if they should do something, things like that. And of course, that's continued on.
Merle.
Did any of your family experience any of the same sort of gifts as you growing up, or when they were younger, or previous generations even?
I believe that both sides of my family, there were psychics. On my mother's side, on the Italian side, as you may know, Italians are somewhat superstitious about things, and they believe things that other people don't. And so I was introduced by my grandmother to things like the evil eye and warding off the evil eye and things like that. And I didn't realize until I was much older that they were really intuitive. Both my mother and my grandmother were very intuitive on her side. Now, on my dad's side, they were super geniuses, very, very high IQs. And I believe that they were also intuitive, and they used that part of their brain. They used, a little more of their brain than most of us. And my father, actually, my parents got divorced when I was 17. We had a long, long time period when we did not see each other. And the last 6 years of his life, I got back in touch with him. Well, during that, when we were growing up, he was just a normal guy, short hair, salesman, even though he shouldn't have been doing that. He was too smart for that. He actually taught at SMS University, taught 7 languages.
Wow.
And he never had a degree, but he was teaching at university. So anyway, I was surprised to find he had turned into a wizard with the long hair and the long beard, and a real wizard. So he has the same abilities that I do. But he never used them when I was young. I never knew that. Never knew it.
Wow.
And in fact, he still didn't have as much ability as me. He did not remote view, for instance. But he was intuitive, and he knew a lot about spiritual things, and any subject you talk about, any subject you bring up, he would know. And he also did healing work, energy healing work. And on my path, I was doing psychic work, remote viewing, mediumship, and healing work as well. Very, very similar path, but we never discussed it until 6 years before he died.
Oh, wow. What was your earliest psychic experience? I know you said earlier that you have been that basically since you were born. First experience where your parents observed it as well.
That would be, I think I was about a little bit younger than 3. And we were outside one late afternoon at dusk, and I started seeing these energy fields around trees. And I asked my parents what that was that I was looking at, and they looked and they didn't see anything. And they said, I don't know what that is. And I asked my sister and brother to look, and they didn't see it either. But I was seeing the aura of trees, the energy field around them. And ever since that time, I have had a very special connection with trees, which would then become even more intense when I got much older. I had a channeling experience where with my 2 daughters and my best friend, they wanted me to channel to find our family history, because at the time we were working on genealogy and we'd only gone back 10 generations and we wanted to go back further. So on my father's side, they're Scots-Irish. And so I did a channeling, and all of a sudden I see trees and in the background, and these 2 people walk forward, and it's a man and a woman with long white hair and wearing robes, and they looked ancient. And they said, "We are the Fear Non Guln." Well, I had no idea what that was. And they let me know that our family has a connection with the tree spirits, or spirits of the trees. And they said that they used to interact with mankind, but for many years they had not, because mankind had pulled back and they're no longer connected to the earth or to the trees. And this was like a reconnection. I knew these people during this channeling. So we wrote that down, and then I got a book on ancient Celtic and looked it up, and Fear Non Guln means spirits of the trees. So, I mean, here is this language that came through that I had no idea about. But that's when I was first got connected to trees, was when I was very, very young, and that was my first real psychic experience.
Knowing what you know about your dad in the later years and when you were a child, do you think he had that same gift back then from when you were little, and he just didn't say anything and let it play out with you, so you evolve?
He may have had it, but I don't even think he was aware of it, or he paid attention to it.
Right.
I don't think he paid attention to it until my parents were divorced and he had time alone to reflect on things, and he just gradually went down this path that he was supposed to go down. Obviously. His name was The Wiz. He was very, very well known in Montana. He lived in Livingston, Montana, and the reason he went there is because Edgar Cayce said that was one of the places people should go. So,
I'm more the UFO guy. Do you recall your first UFO?
Yes, I do. I had been interested in UFOs, so I had experiences at a very young age, but I didn't know it. Okay, so the first time this was in my face was I was 17 years old, and we were driving. My mother took us on a trip to Mexico. We were driving through Oklahoma, and my brother says, "What is that thing over there?" And we all looked. I was driving, and we all looked out, and here is this cigar, silver object, large object with no wings and no tail, pacing us for a long time, not that far away. I mean, I would guess now maybe about 2,500 feet to 3,000 feet up, and maybe 3 football fields away. So it was pretty close. It was pretty big, and it stayed with us for some time, and then it disappeared. It just wasn't there anymore. So looking back on it, I mean, that was an in-your-face UFO, and that's when I realized, yeah, there are UFOs. And so then I got really interested on that track. That's what set me off there.
Now, be honest, do you have some aliens, too? You got aliens?
You mean, do I have them visit me?
Yes.
And then talk to them? Oh, yes. Oh, hell yes.
Knew it.
Oh, yeah.
Knew it. Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. And now I contact them and they come in.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
How do you do that?
Telepathy. Telepathic contact. It always is. If you send a message out, somebody is going to pick it up.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I used to be able to. I had that shut down.
What?
Yeah.
You had it shut down on purpose?
No. I, at the time, was working with my guru, Pascal. He then moved away, and we were working with another couple, and she put a curse on me. And
she did.
And everything ended.
Can you reverse that curse, Dave?
It has been removed. The curse has been removed.
Okay.
I have seen some UFOs. I have been taken since then. But to actually call them in the way I used to be able to, can't do it.
Yes, you can.
I have a block there that I have to try and get rid of. And
I'll help you. I'll help you with that.
That would be kind of cool because it was, it got to a point where it was getting kind of cool that I would call friends over to my house and say, hey, it's a nice.
In South Dakota, we're looking forward to exploring new roads and wide open spaces. When you're ready to travel, go great places. Learn more at TravelSouthDakota.com.
Own the road with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Whether you're cruising through Nashville on I-40, heading down I-90 to Boston, or touring Santa Cruz on the 5, you'll be covered by the largest 5G network. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles in America with 5G.
See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com. Most reliable according to independent third-party Umlaut from crowdsourced user experience data from January to July 2021. Fastest according to Open Signal Awards based on average speeds in USA. 5G user experience report July 2021.
Spring night, let's have a beer, sit on my patio, and watch some UFOs fly over. And then all of a sudden there's black triangles or white orbs or whatever it was. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed that.
They know your intent. You're sending that message out. You're sending that intention out, and they're like, okay, we'll show up. They're around all the time anyway, but they'll make themselves known if you ask for it.
Right. I want to ask you, because this is a paranormal show. I could talk UFOs with you literally all night long, but Merle will kick my ass if I do that. So I want to ask you, what do you think the biggest difference is between searching for ghosts and searching for UFOs?
Well, those two things are very similar. And in fact, we use a lot of the same equipment to do both. So my paranormal bag is also my UFO bag. As far as a big difference, I would say that the ETs are more apt to be willing to appear if you request it, and also more willing to teach and talk. Whereas the ghosts and the spirits have another agenda, and a lot of the times they don't even know they've passed over, and they want help from you. So I'd say that's the biggest difference. The ETs are here to help us. We're here to help the spirits.
We got about 45 seconds left. One of the things that I've noticed and tried to teach my audience is, as they ask questions as well, I find personally that paranormal energy is very it's very sullen, it's very grounded, it's heavy on the shoulders and in the back of the neck, whereas ET energy is extremely enlightening, and it's like being on a euphoric high. You almost like, where is everything going? Where are they? Do you find that as well?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, because they're also very fast moving and energetic, and that's why they can appear in one place and then they're in another place at the same second, because they move so fast. So it is a whole different energy. It's like there's electricity in the air when they're around, and there is.
Very true.
Because weird things happen with electricity when they're around. But the ghosts can do that too.
True.
They can mess with electricity.
I'm going to get you guys to hold on right there, because we are through the first half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Merle is here with Ghosts of the Great White North. Our special guest, Margie K. MargieK.com is her website. Check it on out. We'll be back right after this. All right, we're clear. Margie, can I get you to turn your microphone down just a little bit? Do you have that ability to do so?
I might be able to.
Otherwise, I can adjust it on this end.
Why don't you do it on that end? I have a tendency to project because I was in theater, so.
Oh yeah, you have a beautiful voice. Just to be blunt.
I talk loud sometimes. I'll try to tone it down.
I've toned it down a little bit on this end, so that should be good. And Merle, I'll get you, because I was just getting some echoing in between you two. So Merle, I'll get you just to, like, from where you were talking, move just like an inch back. That's all I need is an inch.
That fine?
Yeah, that's good there. All right. So we'll try that out. Yeah, it's exciting. I love the combination of UFOs and ETs and everything,
I have a UFO question for when we go back on.
You do not.
I have a UFO question.
You do not talk like that, Merle. Shame on you.
Did you get your Gibson Les Paul?
No, I did not. No, not yet. That's Maz.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a Gibson Les Paul?
That is the plan. Yes.
All right.
Yes. I mean, if you're gonna go hard, you might as well go hard and expensive.
No, you get a Gretsch.
No, Gretches are ugly.
Gretches are traditional.
They're ugly.
Or a 54 Stratocaster. Burnt Sunburst.
That's nice.
Custom. Buddy Holly's is for sale, $100,000 in Australia.
No, it's okay.
Is that all?
I know, right? That'd be my first purchase if I won the lotto. There's a low hum vibration, Dave.
I know.
Like feedback.
I know. I think I don't know where that's coming from, so that's okay. It's not too killing on the audio, so we're okay with it.
That half hour flew by.
Totally. All right. Yeah, you only hear it when we're quiet, so that's okay. We're not going to be quiet for too long.
All right.
Vinman says that hum is from all the Merle in the air.
I like it. Louder.
Mm-hmm.
You got a lot of people in chat.
Yeah, not yet. It will go well over 100 tonight. We have a very loyal audience. I don't know why. I think
it's a strong audience.
Strong audience. They love their Merle.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the highest amount we've had was Lou Elizondo. We had 405.
Oh, yeah.
That's
I'll
hard.
bet.
That chat room, I couldn't even keep up. I could not even keep up. Commonwealth Andrew, I have seen your Les Paul and SG. It is very they're very beautiful. I'm very jealous. All right. Merle, I'm going to let you take it away this second half hour.
Hey, I got my one UFO question of the year, all for Margie.
All right.
Of the year, wow.
Of the year.
I'm honored.
Yep.
Are you still part of MUFON too?
Oh yeah, I'm the assistant state director for Missouri.
Oh, cool. I got a lot of MUFON friends.
We're doing a lot.
Tom Whitmore from the board is one of my good friends.
Ah, yes.
Love Tom.
Good group of people.
I agree. I agree.
We've got some really, really talented people.
What flavor is it today, Dave?
Grape ice. Grape ice. Merle, you should have seen my boy last night playing Rock You Like a Hurricane with a distortion pedal.
That's awesome.
Yeah, now he's hitting me up. Daddy, can I get a distortion pedal, please? Yeah, we can get one.
Do it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
How old is your boy?
He's 8.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's literally been a metalhead since he was like 3. So.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's pretty
cool. A little
cool.
influence from Dad there?
Not much, to be honest. He just likes it. He just really, really likes it. Hold on, guys. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone who is taking in our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button, and our website, new look website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Merle from the Paranormal Road Trippers and its Ghosts of the Great White North. Tonight, we are down in Missouri visiting with the awesome Margie Kay, who is a member of MUFON as a UFO researcher, as well as a ghost hunter and intuitive. She does it all, and I bet you she even makes a great souffle as well. MargieK.com is her website. Welcome back, guys. Merle, take it away.
Missouri. That's where my family comes from. Big chunk of my family. They moved.
What town?
I don't know.
Genealogy.
Ancestry. But my question to you is, since you're part of MUFON and you're very active in the UFO community, I'm not an experiencer. I'm open to it. I'm open to observing UFOs, aliens, all of it. How do you get somebody who... Like, I've experienced ghosts my whole life. I've experienced Bigfoot multiple times. As for UFO, I can't check that off my my paranormal bucket list. What info do you give people who want to experience that? How do you get them to open up to it? Because I feel I am open to it.
Have you seen Bigfoot and seen ghosts?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I have heard of Bigfoot.
You heard of Bigfoot, but you've seen ghosts.
Yes.
Okay, then that means that your third eye is open. And here's the thing. I believe that you've got to raise your vibration to a certain point to be able to see these things. And you have to put yourself in an altered state of consciousness, even if it's only a little bit. It's just, like a meditation, or just simply be in a very calm state of mind, or even being tired will do it, like late at night. There's a very thin line between fully awake and just a little bit of an altered state. And that's where you want to be with UFOs, the same as with ghosts, with spirits, and with Sasquatch. I believe Sasquatch is fifth dimensional, and it can slip into our dimension, but it can also they can also appear. I've seen Sasquatch. I am in telepathic communication with a Sasquatch clan, and they've also actually physically appeared to me in person in my backyard, and they can come and go. But it's just like that. So you're there. The next step is a telepathic communication, to be in a meditative state, very relaxed, without any distractions around, and you're by yourself outside is the best way. They'll come inside too, but it's best to start outside so you don't freak out so much. And ask for them to show themselves. I send a message out that I would like any benevolent non-human beings to show themselves from a distance. So start off with that, and then they'll start showing. They'll flit about the sky. A star will just suddenly start moving and take off, or zigzag across the sky. They'll do something so that you're not looking at anything normal. No conventional craft. And then after you get used to that for a while, then telepathy may come in where you send a message out and you ask them to give you a message and speak, and you'll hear a voice. And that's them communicating with you. It'll be in English, okay, because that's how telepathy works. It's in whatever your language is. And then the third step is in person, up close. Ask for the ETs to actually appear to you, and they will. And how I first started, when I had my first in-person contact that I knew for sure, well, I had some earlier, but this was the biggest deal to me. My feet were killing me for like 2 weeks, and the doctors couldn't figure it out. I went to a podiatrist. She couldn't figure it out. And it got to the point where I couldn't walk anymore. And I was crawling on my knees to get around. And I said, this is ridiculous. I heard this worked, so I'm going to try it. I sent a telepathic message out. I meditated, laid down in bed, meditated. I said, any benevolent beings out there, I don't care if they're human or not, would you please come work on my feet? And then I fell asleep. The next thing I know, I feel this very, very big, terrible pinch in my calf. It was like a needle going down to the bone. It was so bad. And it woke me up. And when I opened my eyes and looked down at the foot of the bed, there's 2 little gray beings standing there. They didn't have the extraordinarily big heads and big eyes, but they were a little bigger than normal. And one of them had his hands out at my feet. The other one was just standing there. And I could feel the presence of a third one to my right, but I didn't see him. And I freaked, here is this non-human entity in my house, in my bedroom. And, I screamed and I threw the covers over my head as if it's going to help, But that's a normal human reaction. That was my reaction to it. And then I pulled the covers down and looked, there was nothing there, but I could still feel their presence. So I realized later, and then this happened several more times with different types of extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings, and now multiple ones. And I have a relationship with some of them. But what I realized is it was my vibratory rate that determined whether I could see them or not. So see, I had been meditating. I was in a sleep state, woke up from the sleep state. I was still in that state of mind. I could see them. And then my fear jumped me right out of that, right down into a lower vibration. So I'm not saying that won't happen the first time it happens to you, because it happened to me 3 more times with different beings until I finally calmed down to the point now where if one shows up right now, like I sense one right now in this room, I'm not going to freak out. It's a normal thing. So that's kind of the process that you have to go through, but it'll work. The whole key is meditation. I teach a class, a remote viewing course that trains people how to raise their vibration and learn how to meditate effectively. But that's, get online, try different meditation techniques, because that is a whole key to getting your mind, getting to that state of consciousness.
How do you know what species you're going to get? Like, say, when you do all of this and you make contact with one, how do you know it's not? Because I've heard that there's the different species or races. How do you know you're not getting one of the bad guys?
Well, you send the message out, you want only a benevolent beings of the light. Okay? And if you also, before I meditate or send a message out like that, I'm going to put white light around me for protection, just like you would before you go on a paranormal investigation. Okay? People use different forms of protection, whatever you want to do, carry a white crystal with you, clear crystal, quartz crystal, things like that, for protection. Whatever your belief system is about that, then the negative ones will not come in. I've learned that over the years, and 99% of my experiences are good experiences, because that is what I'm attracting, and I'm repelling the negative.
Have you ever had the unfortunate of a bad one coming through?
Yeah, one time.
Okay.
I had just been at a conference and encountered a reptilian who walked out of a person and stood beside them. And the reptilians are very powerful, negative entities. Now, some people have had some positive experiences with some of them, so I don't want to say that that's not possible. But in my experience, they are negatives. Sometimes people call them demons. They've got claws. They look ugly. They look scary. And he walked out of this person and then walked back in and told me there was nothing I could do. He was possessing that person. Okay. 2 weeks later, it's standing in my bedroom. And that was very unnerving to me. And I got rid of it, but it wasn't easy.
How do you get rid of them? Is it similar to the paranormal investigating?
Well, it's similar in that you would use the same techniques. You would use white light, call in a column of white light down through your crown chakra, and put that all around you. Push positive energy out. They don't like that. You turn lights on in the rooms. They don't like light. They don't like clear quartz crystals. I have them all over my house. So I did all of those things. And then if I get in a really sticky situation, then I can call on Valiant Thor. And he will come in and take care of the problem.
Valiant Thor?
Yes.
Is he still around Earth?
Oh, yes. He's been here for a long time. He was not just here from 57 to 61 at the Pentagon. He has been assigned to this planet for a long, long time. I met him in 1985 when he appeared to me, and he did a very strange thing. He's actually been in my life since I was a baby, but I didn't know it. I got to tell you this story.
Please do.
I was seeing a massage therapist in Seattle. I lived in Seattle for 13 months. I went to the massage therapist, and I took my brother and my 2 kids with me because we were going to go to the fish market afterwards. And so we're getting ready to leave, putting our coats on. All of a sudden, the massage therapist says, "Would you like to try a light experiment?" Only it wasn't in his voice. It was another man's voice. And I knew instantly something was up, that it was something spiritual in nature. So I said, "Yeah, I'll try a light experiment." And he had this big street lights on this little side table, a red and a green light.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry. With 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey guys, Gronk here, calling a 30-second hair huddle. When it comes to tackling hair loss, Hims has you covered. From clinically proven regrowth treatments to thickening, shampoo, and conditioner. Just go to 4hims.com for a free consultation. Then a licensed medical provider can help you with your game plan. If prescribed, Hims ships directly to your door. Get your hair back in the game with Hims. Try today and get a 90-day money-back guarantee at 4hims.com.
Just go to 4hims.com/podcast. That's 4hims.com/PODCAST. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information.
He says, okay, look at the green light for a while. And he said, okay, now look at the red one. You know, he turned one off, turned the other, and back and forth. And he said, now what do you see? And I looked up at him, and I just saw a skeleton standing there. Nothing else, just his skeleton.
Wow.
And I'm trying to wrap my head around what just happened when this face appeared on the wall. It was a man's face. He had a helmet on, came down to a point in the middle of his head and came down the sides. And he says, I am Thor, and now you have X-ray vision. And then he said, I'm going to be in touch with you. We're going to be doing some work together. And he disappeared. And I looked over at the massage therapist. He's back to normal. I looked over at my brother and my kids. I said, tell me, did you guys see that? And they said, see what? They didn't hear anything. They didn't see anything. It was like it was 1 second to the next. They didn't know any of that happened. The massage therapist was back to normal in his normal voice, and I realized that whatever this entity was, Thor, I didn't know who it was, had gone into the therapist and spoke through him and made this happen. Well, I figured out, of course, I didn't know what was happening at the time. I was psychic, and I was doing readings for people, but I wasn't doing medical diagnosis or looking in the body at all. That wasn't what I was doing. I was a psychic medium talking to people, dead people, right? And so we went home, and that evening my brother says, could you do a reading for me? So I said, okay, I'll do a reading for you. And we're sitting there in the dark, and all of a sudden, and I close my eyes when I do a reading. Something kept saying, open your eyes, open your eyes. So I did, and on the wall is this now the same head, only it's bigger than it was before. Same helmet, like this M-shaped helmet. And Thor says, we're going to be doing work together. I have some tasks for you. You're going to be writing books. You're going to be speaking, and you're going to tell the world about me and what we're doing. And he said, tomorrow night at your UFO meeting, so he knew I was going to a UFO meeting in Seattle on the Hill. Our ship is going to appear so you can see it. And then he's gone. I still don't know who the guy is. So we go to the meeting the next night, and I told everybody there what had happened. And I said, they said they're going to show up. Well, these guys had this huge picture window, and they're up on this big hill. We're sitting there about halfway through the meeting. This light appears. And I look outside, and here is this craft about, 30, 40 feet across, coming down in the street and the neighbor's house across the street over their yard, just hovering there. It has lights going around it. And I said, tell me you guys see that. My brother didn't see it. Nobody saw it. One of the other psychics in the room said, I sense it. I know something's there. But I was the only one who could see it. And then it just took off. Well, that was 1985. I want to say right around 2012, 2013, a lot of weird things were going on. I did some psychic readings for the Psychic Studies Institute in Kansas City, along with two other psychics. One of them was a good friend of mine. We left. It was about 10:30 at night. My cell phone rings. I'm driving home, and it's one of the psychics, Gail is her name. She said, Margie, who the heck is Thor? And I said, what? I hadn't talked about him for years. I hadn't told anyone. And I said, Well, I told her, she says, well, he just contacted me and said, you're not listening and you need to contact him. I said, oh my gosh, I haven't listened. I haven't contacted him for a long time. He's mad because I hadn't been meditating and been in that state of mind so I could have this contact. I said, okay. So she says, I'm going to find out who he is. So she did. She said, she bought me this book, sent it to me, Stranger at the Pentagon. Okay, so if anybody wants to know who Valiant Thor is, get that book. Julie Strange's has Dr. Frank Strange's books. He's deceased, but she has them. If you go to her website, the book is inexpensive. If you go to Amazon, it's over $100. But if you get it from her, I don't know, it's $10 or $20. Frank Strange's was called to the Pentagon, and he met with Valiant Thor there while he was staying there. Valiant Thor landed. This was prearranged. He met with Eisenhower. He met with the Joint Chiefs. He met with a lot of people there. He was their guest for 3 years. And what he had done was offer something, and it was refused. And the thing was, among other things, that there would be no more illness or death for humans if we would agree to not have war anymore, not fight each other on the planet, that the whole planet had to get together, that it really had to be, they wanted to be, because the other planets are one world governments. That's what they wanted us to be, and they wanted no more fighting. And Eisenhower came back and he said, no, we're not going to take that because it would destroy our economy, because there would be no health system, there would be no hospitals, there would be yada yada. Anyway, he tried to get through. He did give them some technology, a little bit, and then left. But he didn't leave the planet. He's still here. He has a craft. It's called Victor 1. And it's at Lake Mead. Well, he and I have developed a relationship. He has appeared to me physically transparent, but not solid. But he's appeared transparent. He saved my life at least 3 times. One time in particular, I had pneumonia, and I knew I was dying, and I asked for his help. And every time, I don't bother him because he's busy, unless it's a dire situation. I will ask for his help. He helped me in the case of the reptilian and got rid of him, and he helped me. And this particular time, he appeared as a ball of gold light, though. But I knew it was him. I could feel his energy. And the ball of light went into my chest. The next morning, I woke up, and I wasn't sick anymore. It was just gone. There was absolutely no trace of pneumonia or bronchitis or anything. And so he has some special things for me to do. That's why he's in contact with me. He's told me he has, what he did in 1985, it was waking up a seed. It was activating a seed. In other words, activating a new ability. It was in there. It wasn't activated. And, it's complicated how these things happen, but they choose certain people to raise their vibrations and raise their awareness level so that they can help other people raise the consciousness of the planet. So we're assigned to, 10,000 or 100,000 people to help raise consciousness. So that's why I do radio shows. That's why I write books. That's why I do NX News Magazine. All of these things is because of that agenda. And as long as I stay on that path, he helps me. If I want to do something else, he's not there. But that's how it works. I mean, that's basically it.
Do you find that Valiant Thor is just sitting here in hiding for reason? Or do you think that he is still in physical form helping out the United States government or other governments of the world?
He is currently helping many people, but he works with individuals rather than governments. He said they can't be trusted. So he no longer, I mean, they know of his existence. They know he's there. And I'm sure he's in contact with some of them, but it's on an individual basis. So he goes around and he's like, overseer over a lot of different people that he's been in contact with. And one of the things he wants me to do, and I'm starting it in January. Well, I've already started it, but I'm going to, stop everything else in January and do this. I'm writing a book called Thor, and it's just about him. My contact with him, other people's contact with him, and other people are reaching out to me. He told me he would send them to me, and he did. He put me in touch with Craig Campobasso, a Hollywood film producer, and now a writer. And, he just wrote a brand new book about the different extraterrestrial species. He's been in contact with Thor for many, many years, and he lived right next door to Dr. Frank Strange's. And so, we are connected in that way. So it's going to be all about that and new contacts. And if anybody else has had contact with them, I want to know, because it needs to go in the book.
All right. I'm going to get you guys to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Ghosts of the Great White North. We got Merle here from the Paranormal Road Trippers. And, of course, he joins us once a month to talk all things paranormal. Our special guest tonight, author, researcher, paranormal investigator, Margie K. MargieK.com. Yeah, we're going to get into some ghosts. She's got a brand new book out as well. We're going to talk about that and more on Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, we're clear. Love
That's
me
a good
some,
half hour.
Love me some Valiant Thor. Oh yeah, you might. I'm sitting here listening, and then all of a sudden you said Valiant Thor, and my ears just went boing, like straight up, and I was like, "Oh, we got to talk about this."
So you are familiar with him?
Yeah.
Has he contacted you?
No. I did once get a strange feeling about Indrid Cold one day.
Oh.
Yeah, that happened a couple of years ago. That didn't surprise me, because it came in between conversations with Alan Greenfield. And so that was kind of cool.
Who's that person, Dave?
Indrid Cold is... We don't know. There's so many rumors. Indrid Cold is said to be an alien, is said to be a human in alien form, an alien in human form, and is said to be either not good, not bad. I mean, it all depends on who you're listening to, but very connected. Very, very connected, and can make anything happen.
Related to Mothman, too.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get the book?
No.
Oh.
I blame the Canadian mail system.
Canada Post is brutal, man.
Yeah.
You'll get it late.
Of course we will. By the way, to our audience
I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem. To our audience out there, it is time for us to show off a little bit of Merle. Here we go.
Oh, God.
Here we go. If you need yourself a Merle shirt, all you got to do is go to spacedoutradio.com and check out the Merle shirts. Now, Merle has a bunch of swag here. We've got Merle stickers. We've got Merle hats, Merle hoodies in white or dark gray. All right. T-shirts. All right. Look at all that selection of Merle. Long sweaters. It's a beautiful selection. All you got to do is Merle it up with us at spacedoutradio.com. Check it all out. We got your gear for you. You pick up a Merle shirt, you pick up a Chad Smith wrench. Adam Robbins, good to see you. And you're right there. You're covered in swag. Look at this, Merle. I mean, could you imagine what people are going to say when you are literally driving down the street and you got a Merle bumper sticker on your car or on the back of your window?
Pretty impressive.
It is impressive indeed, Merle. Impressive indeed. I do not know if there is any tank tops, gorgeous Kira. But you can cut the sleeves off and you get your own tank top right there. That's all you got to do. So go to spacedoutradio.com, click on shop, get your Merle swag. We got other great swag. You can get some aliens there too if you look. You know, little You Got Aliens. You got the Woo Train right there. El Ovni Volador. You never go wrong with Mr. Volador. The Woo Factor. All right. Area 51 gas station. All right. We Own the Night with Carl. If you want to go traditional, we have our logos, Spaced Out Radio. Little bit of everything there, people. Little bit of everything. But yeah, check out that Merle selection right there. Merle. Any color you want. Go to spacedoutradio.com. Check it out today. You got to be happy about that, Merle.
Merle swag.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone buy it now.
I like your T-shirts.
Thank you. Thank you. We're proud of them. What is Julie Strange's website?
I have to look it up. Let me see if I can find it. It's been years. I hope she's still alive.
I know there's a couple of Julie Strange's on Google here.
Oh! Well, let me see here. Stranger at the Pentagon Revised, $18.99 on Amazon. And let me keep... You can also get it on Craig Campobasso's site.
Yeah.
He has a short movie on YouTube. He did...
Yeah, I know Craig.
Do you?
Yeah.
Nice guy. I really like him.
Guy. Yeah, we should.
I don't see Julie Strange's site. Maybe she's not around, but
yeah, I'll talk to Craig about it. I haven't had him on in a while, so we're pretty much due for Craig.
Oh yeah, you've got to talk about his new book, but he's got the short film Stranger at the Pentagon, and he sells those books on his site too.
Yeah. Yes, Merle.
I have another UFO question, top of the hour.
You do not.
I sure do.
Shame on you.
Did you see I asked 3 in 1/2 an hour? I think it was 4.
That could be a record for you.
That's 4. That's in my 6 years of doing this with you. I haven't even asked 4 UFO questions.
You haven't asked 4 questions since we've been doing this show for a couple of years. That's beautiful. Vanner Smith, good to see you. Big thank you to Pascal and Robert for the super chats tonight. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And a big thank you to all the veterans out there tuning us in. We love you. And here we go with hour number 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. And we want to remind you that you can check us out on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Vastation. Vastation is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Ghosts of the Great White North. We got Merle with us from the Paranormal Road Trippers, and we're having a blast tonight with Margie Kay. She's a member of MUFON in the state of Missouri. She is also a paranormal investigator. She's intuitive, and we could talk hours with her. We really, really could. And she got fantastic hair, too. And that's another thing that really I'm enjoying about tonight. But you'll have to check out the YouTube side or the Twitch side to see that for yourselves. And Merle, welcome back. You want to ask another UFO question?
I do. Then I think I'm capped out of your UFO questions. You clearly have had a lot of experiences and all that. Have you ever been taken? Have you been on a ship? Yes?
Yes.
Do tell.
Well, I think the most significant time was in early 2013. My husband was out of town, and all these weird things happen when he's out of town, or at least in another part of the house. I was lying in bed. I had just put my head down on the pillow, and I looked up at the ceiling, and this dark area on the ceiling was swirling around. It was like this hole opened up, and a hand came down. It was not a human hand, and there was an ET behind it. And what do? I get up and I take the hand and go up into this portal of some type, and the next thing I know, I'm on a ship, and the interior is a silver color. There's a desk, and he has me sit at a desk, and there's a screen, and I wasn't afraid at all. This was just like something that was normal, and I felt like I knew this ET. He was very tall and had thin arms, thin body. He was over 6 feet tall, though. Anyway, he had me look at this screen that just looked like a computer screen, flat screen, and I'm watching the Earth. I see from afar, and I see this asteroid come in and hit the Earth in Russia. And then this huge, gigantic explosion, and this debris and
It's finally time to get back to game day and grilling, but you have to tackle projects on your property. With John Deere equipment from SunSouth, it's no sweat, because you can get your projects done faster, more efficiently, and more affordably with 0% financing up to 72 months on select models. Plus, save 20% off select John Deere parts during our Parts Extravaganza sale. Get it done and get back in the game with SunSouth. Equipment for those that do.
Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer expires September 30th, 2021.
With Sunmade, whole fruits natural sweetness opens a world of imaginative snacks. Take a sweet or sour adventure with fruity raisin snacks. Chill on creamy, delicious yogurt-covered raisins. And for ultimate yumminess, try s'mores granola bites. Because with Sunmade snacks, goodness really is delicious. Get a taste at sunmade.com/imagine that.
Dirt and dust and just clouds and fire go over like 3/4 of the Earth. And I knew that this was an extinction level event, that the planet couldn't survive that. He gave me no explanation as to why he was showing me this. The next thing I know, it's morning. I'm lying in my bed and it's morning, and I woke up and I remembered it completely. And I told several people about it, told my family, told my good friends about this vision, and I wrote it down and I put it in my blog because it was something that, I'd never seen anything like that before, and it was very significant. 2 months later, that asteroid hit in Russia.
Wow.
And there were people who had, in Russia, they all have dash cams. So there's video, and it's up now on YouTube. You can see the video of the asteroid coming in, but at some point, this other object appears, and it looks like a missile, and it goes to it, and the thing blows up in the atmosphere before it hits the Earth. and just a little small fragment. I mean, there was a big explosion. There were, people injured and buildings destroyed. But I believe that what I had been shown was a vision of what could be happening, or they knew that was going to happen, and that they had some means of taking that out, because either that or we had something that took it out that nobody's talking about. One of those two things happened. But why I was shown it ahead of time, I have no clue, because, of course, there wouldn't be anything I could do about it. Maybe they were just telling me that we know about future events, or we know that things like this are possible, and we are here to help the planet to keep, something that catastrophic from happening.
Do you feel they walk among us?
Oh, yeah, I know they do.
Yeah.
I've seen them. I can always tell a non-human being when I'm around them. And they're also hybrids. And there are some hybrids who know they are and some who don't. But at some point, and this is what Valiant Thor told me, they will be told at some point who they are and what they are. But they are a combination of ET DNA and human DNA. I've seen non-human beings that have no aura. And that is impossible to me, because all living things have an aura. But some of these beings, this was like in the late 90s. I went to this conference in Arkansas. It's called the Ozark UFO Conference. It's huge. It's been going on for over 30 years. Well, I was down there with my girlfriend and her brother. And I went out into the hallway, and I see this man who's over 7 feet tall. Kind of caught my eye, and I looked over, and I saw no aura around him. Well, he was looking away from me at an angle, talking to this group of people, when all of a sudden he turns right around and looks me right in the eye, and he knew that I could tell what he was. So I went into the big meeting room, and I told my girlfriend and her brother, all I said was, I want you guys to go outside in the hall and look at this real tall guy and tell me what you think, and come back. And they came back, and she says, something's just off about that guy. I don't know what it is. It's something weird. Well, they came in, we did the conference again, and after that, he was gone. He left, and he did not come back. Well, I think he did that because he knew that I had identified that he was an ET. So, and this happens a lot. I've seen it a number of times at UFO conferences. So they're there for a reason. I did a conference myself in Columbia, Missouri, a few years ago, and 3 ETs showed up in the front, standing right behind the speaker. Well, I saw them, and then I went over to another person, and I said, I need you to just be real calm and quiet, and I want you to look behind the speaker and tell me what you see. And she saw them too. And then a third person saw one of them. So they were there. What they're doing at these conferences, I mean, we're talking about them, right? Are they checking up to see what we know? I don't know, but it's funny. It's almost hilarious that they would do that.
Let's get more into the paranormal here as we kind of shift things on here tonight on Ghosts of the Great White North. You've been a paranormal investigator now for a pretty long time. What have you learned about this field in general and for you personally?
Oh gosh, a lot of things. Most of it trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the biggest thing is to keep an open mind, because almost anything is possible. I mean, I've seen things that I didn't think could possibly exist, or they were myths, until something shows up and I see it myself. For instance, the dog man or the wolf man, I think it's one and the same. I just thought that was a monster TV show. I had no clue that this was a real thing until one walked into my hotel room in Boonville, Missouri.
Got to hear this story.
Oh, it. I was teaching at a paranormal conference, and that evening we were set up that day, and that evening my sister went to help me. We're in this room, and the minute we walked on that floor, I think it was the third floor, I turned to her, I said, something's here. I feel something strange, and it's coming from the window down at the end of the hall. And she goes, yeah, I kind of feel a presence too. And my sister feels nothing. She's not psychic. And she says, I kind of feel that there is something weird going on here. Anyway, we went to bed. And, 5 minutes later, I see this 7-8 foot tall wolf man walk through the door. He's transparent, so fifth dimension, jumps on the bed and gets right in my face and growls. And I'm like, holy cow. I jumped out of bed and went down to the foot of the bed. And my sister says, what's going on? I said, well, you're not going to believe this, but there's a wolf man in here. She goes, where did he go? I said, I don't know. I don't know where he went. And I looked down on the floor, and from underneath my bed are these claw hands coming out to grab my ankles. And I backed up against the wall, and I knew right then I needed to call in Valiant Thor. And he came in with a big ship, was there instantly, sent a beam of light down through the whole building and spread it out and pushed this wolfman out away from there. And it was gone. Once again, I don't know why that creature decided to just show up, if for no other reason than to just show me that it was real, because I had just done a case, an investigation about that creature from a woman who had seen it, and she took a picture of it. And in the picture, well, I got to tell you this story. She had the sudden idea a couple years prior to take her little camera and go out and try to get pictures of Sasquatch. Now, she had never done anything like that before. The woman is a trained psychiatrist. And she all of a sudden is thinking, well, I should do this. So sometimes she went alone. Sometimes she brought a friend with her. She would go out, and she actually communicated with the clan of Sasquatch south of Kansas City. And she did this for a couple of years, and they would come closer and closer each time and show themselves. Well, this one time she went out, she gets there, and she sees on the ground a Sasquatch with two little kids, a young boy and a young girl with blonde hair, and she said they were perfect children. They were two perfect. And they were holding up this very heavy, large Sasquatch, holding his head up and stuff. She said, that's impossible. Those little kids could not possibly be holding this Sasquatch who was injured. She took some pictures. Then she looks up in the tree, and there's a woman with long hair sitting in the tree watching the kids. And then, I hate to get into UFO, but this is connected. A UFO lands. A man gets out, an older man gets out, and starts walking over to this scene, and she looks over and looks at him right in the eye, and he stops dead in his tracks. He says, you can see me? And she said, yes, I see you. And he walked right over to her and talked to her for a few minutes, and she had the camera in her hands, and he said, look at your pictures. And she went back and reviewed the camera. On the ground is the Sasquatch with the kids, but on the side are two giant Sasquatch holding back a very large wolf man who was coming. He said that thing was coming to attack you, and they saved you from it. And so she didn't see that with the naked eye at the time. She only saw the one on the ground. So here's a woman who has opened her third eye. She's very aware, and she's in contact with this clan. She was able to see these things. Anyway, this event happened to me not long after. So I think that creature is telepathic, it's intelligent, and it knew that I was involved with that case, and he was showing me, yeah, I exist.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That's one of the most bizarre things that's happened to me.
You have a brand new book coming out, Gateway to the Dead, a Ghost Hunter's Field Guide. What's the inspiration behind this?
Well, that one's not brand new. That one's old, but I am doing a rewrite on it. I'm going to be doing another edition. The inspiration behind that is ghost hunting from a psychic's perspective. In fact, the new one, the tagline is just that. Is Gateway to the Dead, ghost hunting from a psychic perspective. In it, I tell a little bit about me, how I got started in the field, and then I go into describe the different types of entities that a person might run into, the different types of equipment that someone might need to use on site, and I even show people how to make their own ghost box using a fan and a tube, which I found very effective and very inexpensive. And, I tell people what not to do, how to protect yourself, and even a meditation method to learn to meditate and to put yourself in the right state of mind to do communication. So it's a good book for people who are psychic and who want to use that more in the field, but also for anybody who wants to do ghost hunting. And that was my intention, is for it to be for a lot of different people who are in the field. And I'll be adding some more to it shortly. Yeah, that is an older book I did. It's still one that's popular. My newest one is Winged Aliens, and that's the one I sent you a copy that you don't have. So, yeah, that's how things go.
I can't.
But that's about. We started having Mothman sightings around Kansas City in 2012, and I got interested in that subject at that time. I didn't pay much attention to it. Of course, I'd heard of Mothman in Point Pleasant, but I certainly didn't think it was in Kansas City. And I mean, one person in particular had something happen, and it just set off the string of events. And now I have over 70 reports from Kansas City. And in the book, there's over, 120, 130 reports, and I'm still getting them every day from this area, from Missouri, even expanding out. I get them now from all over the country. I get reports. And I did a Google map, Google My Maps about Mothman. There's a link on my website, and all of the winged creature sightings, everything from fairies to what some people are calling mimics. They're like larger fairies that have been seen all around. And some even as tiny as an inch, only an inch tall, some type of a tiny human with wings. And then, of course, the larger, the Batman, Bat Squatch, anything that's a winged creature is on that map. So that's an ongoing thing. And when people send me a report, I just add it on.
For those who do not know who the Mothman or what the Mothman is, what is it, and have you seen it face to face?
I have seen it, and who knows what it is. It's something supernatural. I've seen it appear and be transparent and be solid and then disappear and not fly off. I saw a gigantic something with wings in the trees across from my house one evening, about 100 feet away, 150 feet away. There was this huge body of something sitting in the tree, but the wings spread out like Thunderbird wings, 25, 30 feet in width. I was just amazed. And it was a gray color, so it was lighter than everything else around. It was night. The moon was out, and we've got a street light across the street, so there was some illumination, and that's the only reason I could see that thing. And I'm looking at this, trying to figure out what I'm looking at, when I hear a noise in a tree in my yard that's close to me, and I look up, and there are 3 winged creatures that look like little pterodactyls or bats. They're like bat wings that were folded with the elbows folded at their sides. just 3 of them sitting in the tree. They were about maybe 2 feet tall apiece. And then I realized that I wasn't looking at the big one anymore, so I looked back. It's gone. There was no wing flap. There was no noise, and there, no rustling of the trees, which there had to be if this had been a real live 3-dimensional thing. But it just disappeared. And then I looked back, and the other 3 are gone. And that's in my book. I've got some drawings in there that I had done. That's bizarre. That's just bizarre. And then recently, I have a good friend of mine. Her name's Jean Walker. She and I do investigations together. And in fact, we do this presentation called 2 Women and a Map. So we do investigations of all types, and then, we do a presentation. So I was on my deck. This is not that long ago. And there's a street light. I see a shadow of only a half of something with a bat wing. Okay, so just half of it, and a bat wing, and the bat wing goes down very slowly, and then the thing is no longer there. So it blacked out the light, and it made a big shadow of this on my deck. So I don't know how big it was. It was just gone, so I didn't see it with my eyes. I just saw the shadow. So I'm telling Jean about this. She said, Margie, at 3:30 this afternoon, I was on 435 highway driving south, and this weird shadow was on the road on the highway in front of me, and it was like a half of a thing with a wing on the right side, and the wing went down. I said, no way did that. A lot of things. This is weird. Jean and I have a lot of things happen at the same time, and neither one of us is aware of it. And it's the same thing. But hers is during the day. Mine was at night. We've had other things happen synchronistically. I think one of the strangest, though, was when we both woke up in the morning, and she lives 2 miles from me, with a strange half-circle bruise between our first 2 toes, as if something had been placed between there and tightened down real tight like a washer or something.
Oh, my goodness.
We both sent pictures to each other. I still have them. Unbelievable. Same marks.
And on that note, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we do have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We do have some audience questions coming up next for the lovely and talented Margie K. MargieK.com. The audience is loving your woo tonight. Loving you. And Merle is here, everyone. Merle from the Paranormal Road Trippers. We continue with Ghosts of the Great White North right after this. All right, we're clear.
It's audience questions already. Do you know? I have more questions, Dave.
Well, I know, but we're going to get a few of them in.
She's bringing out all the questions. She's going to have my question quota of the year with this interview.
Hope it's not too weird for you.
Not at all.
Oh, no. No. The more
Agent 420 asks if I'm ever going to talk. Does he not know?
This is the Merle Show. This is the Merle Show.
I've asked more than 6.
It's a new record.
More than 6. Maybe more than 8. We don't know.
My goodness.
I think it's been more than 8.
Yeah, see? Maybe next month will be a drinking game, Dave. Every time Merle asks a question, it's a shot.
That is a good drinking game for the audience. Longhorn Paranormal is asking, can we kidnap Merle and take him to Louisiana?
Oh, God, that would be heaven. I need to go there for the food. And then the investigating.
Yes. I want to try, what do they call it? You know, I always see these big pots that are filled with like potatoes and corn and onions and lemons and crawfish. I want to try that.
I make those camping.
Oh, my God, that looks so... Gumbo, thank you. Thank you. I want to try that so bad.
Shrimp boil is what we have.
Yeah, it's a boil. There's lakes
Put
here,
shrimp in
Dave.
there.
Jones Lake has crawfish in them, or we call them crayfish.
Yes. Big Willie's asking, I'm a Merle virgin. Where does Merle live? He lives just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia.
In a dark city called Surrey. Always has a cloud on it.
Yes.
Just kidding. The most gorgeous city in the world.
Opa de Greco.
Gym sessions and sweaty summer activities are back, which means more funky smells in your clothes because sweat leaves behind bacteria that causes those hard-to-remove odors. Clorox fabric sanitizer products are ready to zap the stink out of fabrics in your home by getting rid of 99.9% of odor-causing bacteria. Eliminate odors in every load or sanitize fabrics between washes with one of our fabric sanitizer products. Search fabric sanitizer at Clorox.com to learn more. When it counts, trust Clorox. Use as directed.
Own the road with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Whether you're cruising through Nashville on I-40, heading down I-90 to Boston, or touring Santa Cruz in the 5, you'll be covered by the largest 5G network. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles in America with 5G.
See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com. Most reliable according to independent third-party Umlaut from crowdsourced user experience data from January to July 2021. Fastest according to Open Signal Awards based on average speeds in USA. 5G user experience report July 2021.
Opa to you. They'll be filming in the New Orleans swamps. Crab boil. Oh, Marie made some a few weeks ago. Oh, that just looks good. You can get you can fish for crayfish in the Vedder River too, in the canal.
Yep.
I think you're allowed 30 a day or something like that.
Something like that. I think it's 30 or 50. But yeah, I've done my fair share of those boils camping. So good. I actually I get spices and stuff shipped from Louisiana, so it's proper.
Nice.
Or Louisiana. How do you guys say it? Louisiana?
Dirty Filth says, they say when you go to Surrey, the RCMP asks if you want to get shanked now or later when you hit the city limits.
Well.
That's actually a good... yeah, it's pretty realistic there.
I can't say much to that.
I'll say it. I live far enough away. Paula W. on Twitch. How are you tonight, beautiful? All right. We've got about 2 minutes, guys. 2.5 minutes.
Back to what I was saying about my family tree from Missouri. Civil War records. I had people, I guess, great-great-grandparents or whatever that fought in the Civil War from Missouri, Kentucky, and Alabama.
Okay.
Like I have all of their records. They all migrated from Maine, because most of my dad's family now lives in Maine. They went to Missouri and then Kentucky and Alabama.
Yeah, I've got family ancestors who served in the Civil War on both sides. So, who knows? They may have known each other.
Yeah. The U.S. has very good documented stuff. Canada's not nearly as documented historically wise.
No.
Although the U.S. is a lot older, too, so. But, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, where are we taking it next half hour?
I want to get some audience questions in.
Okay.
Because there's a real good group of questions I need to just find. I got a couple from Chad Smith here. The Chad Smith. Where are they? I think they're still way up here.
I also want to budget time to learn about your medical...
Yeah, we'll do that in the final half hour.
P-scan. Okay.
Yeah. Margie, we're going to have to bring you back. This is way too awesome. Too much to talk to you about in just a couple hours.
We're just touching the surface of everything.
I'm a Margie K fan. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
I'm a
me
Margie
too.
K fan. Well, I'm going to give her a few. I'm going to give her a few claps. Just right.
She needs a T-shirt.
All right. Big thank you to Pascal and Robert for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciated. We're going to get into audience questions next. Super Chat is a great way to support what we do on the show. Don't forget you can do shopping at spacedoutradio.com. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate having your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Ghosts of the Great White North. Merle is with us from the Paranormal Road Trippers out of Vancouver, British Columbia, and from the beautiful state of Missouri, we have Margie Kay with us. She's an intuitive, she's a paranormal investigator, she's a cryptid investigator, UFO investigator, wears a lot of hats. Her website, margiek.com. And we're going to get to some audience questions here for you guys. We're going to start off with Chad Smith here, the Chad Smith. He is asking, if you haven't experienced anything paranormal by the time you're 30 years old, is it too late? Can you still have your first time later in life?
Well, yes, you most certainly can, and I know a lot of people who do have experiences suddenly later in life. That used to not be the case, but in the past few years, things have stepped up, and I believe that that's because of our position in the universe, and we're moving into fifth dimension, so this is a transitional period, and the vibratory rate of the entire planet has raised. It's in the process of raising, so it's definitely never too late. If you will study meditation, and I can suggest my book, The Remote Viewing Workbook, which is available on Amazon. If you will go through that, it goes through detailed information and practice sessions that it will give you to open your third eye. And once you do that, you're going to have paranormal experiences.
All right, follow up from Chad Smith, the Chad Smith. Who pushes the buttons? Who decides when you're ready to experience stuff? Us or them?
You know, that is a really good question because it's both. The answer is both. People experience things when they're ready for them, but sometimes there's somebody on the other side who is, like with me, did that activation for X-ray vision. And it seems that they're there a lot of the time and will help you and give you a push. It's that little voice in your head that you don't know where it comes from, or you might actually hear something, or you might just get a feeling that you should do something, and you're ready, and you'll have the experience. But you won't have it until you're ready for it and until you can deal with it.
Jennifer is asking, Margie, what are the hopes of the ETs you have been in contact with the people of Earth versus the hopes for the opposition to those ETs?
Well, the hopes for most of the extraterrestrials is that we will become a non-warring and more highly evolved and higher consciousness group of people on the planet. And if you look at what's going on in the world today, sometimes that seems utterly hopeless, but yet they are there to help us, and we are gradually raising consciousness, and it's a very slow process, but hopefully someday we will look at everybody at that level, and there won't be any more war, there won't be any more conflict. There will, all of this stuff will go away. It's just taken longer than we want.
Black Dragon, former Marine, we love them around here. We love our veterans around here. Is asking, when you had your Mothman encounter, did you feel the Mothman?
Yes, I knew the presence was there in both of the cases I mentioned. I knew that it was around, and now. Oddly enough, one of the witnesses that I met in 2012, that I have been investigating, and he has ongoing experiences. When one is around him now, I feel it. I know it. No, it doesn't matter where he is. He could be miles away from me doing whatever he's doing, and he works nights, and he's an Uber driver. He goes to the airport, a lot and drives around town. But if it's hanging around him, I also know it. I feel the presence at the same time. So it's almost like once you have had that contact, you have a connection to that being. And, this happens with other types of beings as well. But this one in particular has a certain type of energy around it. And when it's there, your spidey sense goes up and you know it.
All right, let's get to another question from our audience. This one from Jennifer. Aside from a skeleton, how did Valiant Thor appear to you, Margie?
Well, Valiant Thor never appeared to me as a skeleton. That was the massage therapist that turned into the skeleton. Valiant Thor has always appeared to me as just his head, his face, or infrequently as a full-bodied apparition that's transparent, or on one or two occasions as a ball of light. So, but most of my contact now is telepathically, or I'll travel astrally or remote view him and his craft. I will go to him, and he has actually taken me on the craft several times and shown me around, or one of his engineers or somebody takes me around and in my astral body or my etheric body, and I've been inside the ship and I know what it looks like. I've been on all 3 floors, and I've seen the engine room, and they showed me how, part of how their propulsion system works. But he usually does not appear unless it's something very important. It's telepathic communication, just speaking, and I'll say something and he talks to me. I hear his voice, just regular conversation.
All right, Merle, this one's for you. This is from Lazarus Project. Do you eat breakfast for dinner, Merle?
100%. I think it's weird, Dave, if you don't.
You're weird. You are weird.
Nope, I like a strong bacon and eggs, runny yolk with toast for dinner.
Disgusting.
Any day of the week.
Disgusting.
With a good hash brown.
How about you, Margie?
I think that's a musician thing because we're used to staying up late and working gigs late and then getting breakfast late. So, yes, I do like breakfast for dinner.
I like a good tub of Lucky Charms, too, sometimes for dinner.
If I would have known this is the way this interview was going to go, I would have called it off the air right off the bat here. There's never a need for breakfast for dinner. Ever.
I'll eat dinner for breakfast. I'll eat cold pizza, Chinese food, any of that. Yeah,
Terrible. All right. Longhorn Paranormal is asking, what is your stance on the use of Ouija boards and the 1970 psychiatric clinical notes, Margie?
The Ouija board is a tool just like any other divining tool. It uses the same energy. You just have to be careful when you use it because it has a tendency to open portals. So if you protect yourself before you go into it and you know what you're doing, it's just another tool. It's not anything to be afraid of. If you are a teenager and you don't know anything and you think you're just going to play it with the game, that's when bad stuff happens.
Very true. Merle, you're also a very big proponent of Ouija boards as well.
I don't mind the Ouija board. I view it. This is my view of a Ouija board. A Ouija board is an analog version of a spirit box because a spirit box is digital. Neither of them have caller ID, so you don't know who you're talking to. So you have to be careful. You have to do all your protection stuff if that's what you do before and after you use them. They're the same thing to me. That's how I feel about that. I like them. I have one right here, actually.
That's a good analogy, Merle. I'm going to steal that.
Steal it. It's the truth. It kind of wakes people, or what's that term they all makes people woke? Isn't that the term they use now? When you compare the spirit box to the Ouija board, because no one connects it, but it is the same thing essentially.
I don't see a difference between Ouija board reading tea leaves, pendulum, psychic intuition. I don't see a difference.
None of them have caller ID, man. You just don't know who you're talking to at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Jenny is asking. Go ahead, Margie. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's a good tool for people starting out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Just close the door at the end. That's it.
Yes.
Just close the door.
And say goodbye.
I also love the Longhorn popped into the show tonight.
That's
Happy they're
nice.
here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good stuff. Jenny is asking, I've seen several pets and an otter on my bed. Does that mean my third eye is opening?
Oh, most definitely. Your third eye would be open if you've seen that. The pets, if they're your pets that have crossed over, that would not be unusual. But an otter, I think that's something that you need to pay attention to. I think you need to look up what an otter means and what it might mean in Native American tradition to find out what the message is there. I don't know. You'd have to look it up.
Let's get back to Jenny. She is asking, in regards to Valiant Thor once again, did he look like a human?
Yes, absolutely. A normal human being. And there's a picture of him in the book, Stranger at the Pentagon. He let people take his picture one time.
I know the feeling because there were three of them there. There was another lady and a man in that photo as well.
Yes.
I know the photo you're speaking of.
They're his crew members were with him.
Yes.
And they don't age, by the way. And he doesn't have fingerprints. He's a created being.
All right, we are moving on here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. YJ is asking, who would win in a galactic conflict if all alien species went at it?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Me either. Me either.
I have a feeling, though, that somebody mentioned earlier is Valiant Thor the boss. Yeah, I think he's the boss. He's the commander of this fleet. And they do have craft all over the planet, surrounding the planet in space as a protection against negative ETs. So, no, I can't really answer that, but I suspect it would be this group.
All right, Mennonite Abe is asking, what are ghosts, spirits? Are they echoes of the past? Aliens?
All of the above. Ghosts are spirits of human beings who have crossed over. They're in fifth dimension, and sometimes you can communicate with them, sometimes not. Then there are, when you say echoes of the past, that's what I call a time imprint. When you might see something that looks like a ghost, but what you're really watching is a movie of something that repeats over and over, and those entities do not interact with you. You are just, and a lot of times it happens in older houses where people have lived in there before, and maybe they died in the house and they have an attachment to it, but they might not be. They might be, out of the house, but the imprint of what they did over and over and over again still remains there. Now, aliens, yeah, I did a case where a lady was asking me for help. She was very poor. She did not have cable TV. All they had was radio. She didn't know anything about aliens. She told me that she was being invaded by ghosts almost on a nightly basis, and they were bothering her disabled son. And when he was sitting in his wheelchair, when he was in his bed, and they kept coming in, and they were throwing things throwing dishes and closing doors and turning lights off and on. And one day she called me and she said, I saw these three ghosts that came in through the walls last night. I said, and I'd been working with her for several months, working on the idea that these were ghosts. And I suddenly knew that they weren't. And I said, what did they look like? She says, well, they were about 3 or 4 feet tall. They were gray and they were transparent. I could see through them. They had big heads and big eyes. I said, oh my gosh, these are not ghosts. These are ETs. So, if someone doesn't know what they're looking at, which is hard to believe in this day and age, but there are people who are isolated, they might think an ET is a ghost.
All right, let's move on here. Paula on Twitch is asking, do different color orbs mean different kinds of beings or something else?
Well, the orb question is a big one. When I have remote viewed some orbs, like the Joplin Spook Light, for instance, I see a Native American in a crouched position in this orb. So to me, that was a spirit. And a lot of people believe that some of these balls of light are spirits, and then other people believe that they're a probe of some type from some type of other intelligence that's sending a probe down to look. I worked on a case that was a paranormal case in Clinton, Missouri. And while I was on site, we were taking pictures at dusk. And the witness said, every night at dusk, all of these orbs come down the hill. And they come over the hill and they go through all of the trees. So while I'm standing there, I see a Native American shaman in spirit form amongst the trees. And he's going around and around in a circle. And then he comes in the house, and he goes around the house in this circle. And I said, he's here, he's doing something for protection because some negative thing happened. A bad thing happened on this site, and I saw it fighting, but it was between two Native American tribes a long time ago, and there was a lot of death there. And this shaman keeps coming back to keep the negativity at bay because there's a negative vortex there. And then we see the lights start to come down the hill. And here they come very, very slowly, just floating along. First there's a few, and then there was at least a dozen that came down. And they came out into the yard, and they're floating there. Well, I'm taking pictures. I get done with this investigation, go back, put it on my computer. There is an ET sitting inside one of the orbs behind a console like he is driving this little craft. And I had two other cases where this happened, where they're orbs, they're balls of light, people think they're spirits. I get, and we get the pictures blown up and we can see ETs in them. I have another investigator friend of mine who did the same thing. She took pictures. I honestly, I can't say anything definitive.
At Capella University, education is as smart as the world around us. With the FlexPath format, you can take classes at your own pace, set your own deadlines, and even leverage your previous experience to move faster. Now that's smart. Learn more at capella.edu.
We did it again. Verizon was just named America's most reliable network by Root Metrics for the 16th time in a row, proving once again that nobody builds networks like Verizon builds networks. That's why we're building 5G right. That's why there's only one best network, Verizon. Best and most reliable based on Root Metrics reports from second half 2013 to first half 2021 of 3 operators on all network types combined, not specific to 5G networks.
Either way, about what these things are.
Very cool. Very cool. We've got about 5 minutes to go before we're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Ghost of the Great White North with Merle and Margie K tonight. And Sandra is asking, can you see an ET once and then never see them again?
Absolutely. That's happened to me. The 3 ETs I mentioned earlier that were working on my feet, I've never seen them again. I seen an ET who was gold in color and was glowing with a big bulbous head in the back. The cranium came way, way out. He was working on me on my stomach one time when I woke up, and I think I scared him when I screamed. But yeah, I've never seen him again. There have been a number, but there are also some that I see frequently, that I communicate with frequently and have seen. So it could be a one-off deal.
All right. Greco is asking, can human ghosts attack aliens or the alien ghosts?
No.
Or vice versa?
I don't know. My mother, when she crossed over to the other side, contacted me only a week later. I was surprised. And I asked her what it was like on the other side and what was there. And she told me that aliens are actually in other, higher dimensions, but they cross through the fifth dimension. So she said that their spirits, so the ghosts, see the ETs crossing through, but they're not hanging out there. They don't stay. They don't remain in fifth dimension with them. But as far as attacking, I don't know. I'll need to ask my mom, and I'll get back to you.
That's one way to put it. Have you been following the recent ET contactee story of Angeli?
No, I have not.
Oh, it's a weird one. There was a question in the audience about it, and this is a lady who claims she's going to be, before the end of 2021, going into a alien base in the Mojave Desert in a cave somewhere on private property, and she's taken a lot of heat for it. She had a fake press conference in Washington, D.C. in front of the Lincoln Memorial a few weeks ago, and a lot of people are just kind of grinding their teeth on her.
Well, I imagine so. Anytime you open yourself up, the non-believers are going to attack you.
You got that right. You got
True.
that right. With 2 minutes to go here, how do you deflect your criticism of people who question your reality of what's happened to you and what you've seen?
I just ignore them. Fortunately, I don't have too many that are skeptics that I speak to anyway. They might be saying something behind my back. I don't know. But I choose to just ignore it, because all that means is that they're not ready to understand it yet.
And when you say understand it yet, can you go into detail about that?
Well, they haven't had experiences like that themselves, so they just don't believe it's possible. And this is usually people who are left brain. You know, they're extremely analytical and they're unbalanced. And until they open up and get their left brain working, they're never going to experience anything like we do.
Yeah, we don't know anybody like that around here. Anybody. Right. Because, and I think that's a logical answer, because, the one big thing that a lot of people are yelling these days from the rooftops of social media buildings is proof. Where's the proof? We're tired of the stories. How do you deal with people who say, you got some great stories, but, do you have any proof? Photographs, video, things like that.
I've got some photos and videos, but most of it is telepathic, and you have to be able to see these things. So you've got to get your mind at a certain point where it can be, change your level of consciousness. And until you open your mind to that possibility and try it, it's just not going to happen.
Merle? What do you think? We got 40 seconds.
What do I think about the about what, Dave?
The experiences.
I believe stories. I think everyone has a story. I believe there's truth to stories. There are also people that like to make stories. I think stories are fine but for me, like with UFOs, I have to experience it. But I like talking to Margie because I'm learning a lot about it. Whereas before, I'm more closed off because I'm very analytical, yet I have a ton of ghost experiences because I do the paranormal research. I'm trying to apply it to different genres of the aliens and all of that sort of stuff. The Mothman stuff, you totally got my ears up. I'm going to be researching it tonight.
All right. And on that note, we have Merle, we have Margie, and we have me going into hour number 3. Next on Spaced Out Radio's Ghosts of the Great White North with Merle from Paranormal Road Trippers and Margie K. MargieK.com is her website. Hour 3's right around the corner. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues. Thank you, Spooky, for that awesome super chat. Margie, I'm just going to run off to the bathroom. I'll be right back, okay?
We'll be here.
You guys can talk to YouTube people.
I'll be here.
Yep.
Somebody asked about proof earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I can prove is remote viewing. So Thor gave me that ability, and I can do that anytime. I just did a conference last weekend, and what I do is have somebody from the audience that I don't know, I've never met before.
Mm-hmm.
It's always easier to do when you don't know the person, so you're not biased. And I'll have them come up on the stage, and I'll scan them. I'll do my P scan, which is a psychic scan, and then just go through their body real quick and find any issues. And then I'll tell them what I see, and then they tell the audience. They turn around and tell how accurate it is. And so far, that has been 100% accurate. I've never had a case where I did not see anything that wasn't true about that person. Now, I've had a couple of people where they said, no, I don't have that. And I said, well, you need to see the doctor and you need to get a test. And they both called me back and then said, yes, I did have that.
I want a P scan.
I can do a P scan for you.
Scared.
Long distance.
Yeah.
Don't be scared.
Okay.
It's not bad. And then the thing about it is too, I forget everything because I'm in a light trance state when I do it. I have no idea what I just told the person about themselves. Same thing with when I do psychic readings. I don't remember anything after, so I tell that person they need to record it or write it down, whatever I said.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's what I'm going to talk about the last half hour is the P scan, and that really intrigues me, that stuff. Because I think you're the only person I've ever heard that does that. I know there's others, but yeah, I don't know. That's really interesting. I want to ask you so many questions about it now, but I'm waiting. I'm going to wait the 3 minutes to when we're back on the air.
Okay.
But mediumship, you do that as well, right?
Well, I do, but I really don't do personal readings for people anymore unless it's an emergency situation, like a missing person or homicide. I'll do those, and I do those at no charge. And then I'll allow other people, if they just want a standard reading, I'll do one a year for them because I do not have time. I'm so busy. I just don't have time to do it. I wish I could do more of it, but I just can't. I'll do for audiences, I'll do for big groups and do talks, and then I'll pick out a few people, and do as many as I can. But that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. Maybe later on I can if I have more time.
Cool. And then, are you active with paranormal investigations, like ghost hunting? Are you more, yeah?
Yeah, I don't do as many as I used to do. I usually I usually don't only go on big cases that people are having trouble with. If another paranormal group calls me, they've got a big issue, and then I'll go in after they've been investigated. They might call me, especially if there's a negative entity on site. That's another thing that I think Thor's involved with, but he's never told me. But I do have this strength to get rid of negative entities. And my dad actually taught me that years ago. He and I worked together on a case where there was a really negative entity in this people's house. And I found the source of it. It was a well underneath their house. And he and I together got rid of this thing, but it ended up me being in the end because I'm stronger than he was.
Now, can you do that stuff remote viewing too?
Yes, yes. And I can do it from distance too. And so now what I do, I don't go on site anymore. people will call me, and then I will remote view the site, and I'll send my etheric body out there, and then that chases that negative entity out.
Oh, wow.
They know I'm coming, so they're usually, a lot of times they'll leave anyway, even before I get there.
That's good.
We got about just over 1 minute, guys. 1 minute. And Margie, when we get to the commercial break at the bottom of the hour, I'll say a proper good night to you during the commercial break, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't forget, you can get your Merle swag by going to spacedoutradio.com. You want that stuff. You can look like Merle. It's all Merle all day, all friggin' night.
You can go to Louis' Barber. That's a good cut.
Yep. Yeah, high and tight every day for Merle. High and tight. It's the way we do it around here. Big thank you to Spooky, to Longhorn Paranormal, Pascal, and Robert for the amazing super chats tonight. We really appreciate your support of SOR. It's a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. Big thanks to all of our veterans out there who are listening in to the show. We really appreciate it. You always have a safe home here at Spaced Out Radio. And, of course, to all our regulars in the chat room and listening in on our archives and on Spreaker, we love you. Thanks for joining up with us. We really appreciate it. We're going to kick off hour number 3 right now. So here we go. Get your horns up.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Thank you so much for everybody listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us, Clam? Vastation. Vastation is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with the final half hour of Ghosts of the Great White North with Big Bad Merle from Paranormal Road Trippers. He's my co-host through these awesome shows. And our special guest tonight, Margie K. MargieK.com is her website. You can find her books there. She's an intuitive paranormal author, investigator, remote viewer, UFO experiencer, and member of MUFON. Welcome back, Margie and Merle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Margie, we wanted to get into your healing. You have this ability to psychically connect with a person's body. Explain how this works.
Well, I call it a P scan. It's cheaper than a CAT scan. It's a paranormal scan. So what I do is I send the energy out through my fingertips and scan the person's body. And it doesn't matter where they are. What I do now, usually Zoom with somebody to do it. But if I'm in person, I'll do the same technique. I'll scan their body with my eyes closed, and that information will come back to me in my mind in like a video that I'm looking at. And I'll look inside the body, I'll look at the bones, all the organs, the tissues, everything. And if there's an issue there where there's something wrong, it will stand out. I'll be pointed to it. There'll be a color about it to make me pay attention. And then I can even request to see on a microscopic level and look in the blood. So I'll see things. Now, some things I know what I'm looking at, but other things I don't because I don't have medical training. So I will, to see what it looks like, describe it to the person, and then they might know about it. Most of the time they do know about it. Sometimes they don't know what's going on. And if it's something that needs attention, then I'll say you need to get opinion from a medical person and get that checked out. And this, I mean, that's basically how I do it. I know that it's difficult to teach. It's difficult to describe. I was, just these ideas came to me after I had that experience with Thor, with the X-ray vision, but it's gone way beyond that. It's like better than an MRI or a CAT scan, because it's as if I'm actually in the body looking at these things. And so, I see past injuries that bother people. I'll see inflammation, arthritis, swollen joints, the gamut. I've even seen blood disorders with things in the blood that aren't supposed to be there. And, I see a shape or something that's not supposed to be there. It will just stand out for me. Now, usually when I do that scan, the worst thing comes up first. And then as I'm working, I do like a 50-minute reading for people, and I start off with that. So that'll take about maybe 10 or 15 or 20 minutes to go through, depending on how many health problems that person has. And like I said, sometimes I had one case where a person thought she had cancer. She had been told by a doctor, and she was very upset about it. And I did a scan for her, and I saw an infection in her lungs that was red. If I see cancer, it's black. Okay. So I said, I don't think so. I think you need a second opinion. She got a second opinion. No cancer. She only had an infection. So it works like that. It works for the good too. And, and then I'll listen for that person's guides or higher self to speak. If they have a message for that person, it'll come in, and I'll let them know if, it's a medical thing or not. And then if there are certain things that I can help with myself that I do healing work on. One of them, the first thing that I became good at was bones, healing cracked bones and broken bones. And sometimes it's instantaneous, and other times it might take a little while. The people that I'm working on say that they feel like electricity is going through. And well, it's energy, but it feels like a mild electrical shock to them. I've also been able to do feather healing, which I was taught by a spirit guide named White Cloud, who was a Native American. He taught me Native American feather healing work. And I did this in front of a shaman one time, and I said, am I doing this right? And he said, absolutely, you're doing this right. Where did you learn how to do it? And I had to tell him it was a spirit who told me, and he wasn't surprised. He said, okay, I believe you because you're doing it the right way. So I can pull negative energies out of a person if somebody has attachments to them, which is common. They can have some type of a non-human entity attachment. I can get rid of that. So, I don't do everything, but I do a few things as far as the healing work is concerned.
Very cool. Very cool. Merle, you had some questions about this.
I just want to know how it works. How did you know you had that gift to do that?
I think, this was years ago. And I don't know, but I think Thor was behind it, because even as a kid, I remember hearing a man's voice. It was his voice. And he would tell me to try something or tell me to notice something. And just by doing that little thing, the thought would come to my mind, hey, you can do this. You can try this. Like one day a few years ago, I was wondering what the little tiny white lights were that were flitting around trees, particularly, they're around all trees, but this one tree in my backyard I had a connection with, and would see these tiny lights. And I was just thinking, what are those things? I wish I knew what those things were. And Thor's voice just said, why don't you ask them? I was like, wow, I didn't think of that. I certainly didn't ever think of that. So I asked them, what are you? And they responded and told me that they are tree sprites, and they said there's a tree spirit that lives in the tree, and that it was someone who was a human before who wants to see what it's like to be a tree and is living in the tree. But they said, we're different. We're sprites. We help the tree. We tell it when to grow, when to leaf out, when to make branches, and all of this. And so the other thing I had noticed is that I would see every winter, I would see an energetic branch come out of the tree. Now, it wasn't there physically yet, but I could see that there was the energy of it. And then in the spring, they would appear in exactly those places. And the tree would grow out to a certain width and height. And so I started telling people, that tree is going to grow 18 inches this year in the spring. And there it would be. Or it'd be 3 feet one year, and it would be.
Gym sessions and sweaty summer activities are back, which means more funky smells in your clothes, because sweat leaves behind bacteria that causes those hard-to-remove odors. Clorox fabric sanitizer products are ready to zap the stink out of fabrics in your home by getting rid of 99.9% of odor-causing bacteria. Eliminate odors in every load, or sanitize fabrics between washes with one of our fabric sanitizer products. Search fabric sanitizer at Clorox.com to learn more. When it counts, trust Clorox. Use as directed. Anyone can be ready for back to school. But with Staples Connect, you can be more than ready. Like, I got everything on my list and saved a ton ready. Staples has everything you need and more for the new school year. Just visit your nearest Staples store or go to staplesconnect.com for inspiration.
3 feet. And so they said they're there with the tree for its entire life. And when it dies, they go to another tree, a young one. And I wouldn't have had that idea if Thor hadn't have said, try this. So I think that all along that has been the case, even though I don't remember everything about it.
Now, is it a similar method to when you see people that have attachments to them? Like, you see all of the bad with the medical, but now if a person's walking around or comes to you saying that they have a dark attachment or whatever, is it the same sort of process?
Yeah, it's the same way that I look, and I will see that entity, and it usually just takes me a minute to get rid of it. The thing about these attachments is they're non-human, and they're sucking energy, and that's how they survive. So they will take energy from a weak person, somebody who's not aware of them, somebody who has done psychic work and didn't protect themselves, or they've been ghost hunting, they didn't protect themselves, and this entity has gone home with them, basically, and will attach. So the thing is, first of all, becoming aware of it, and then not wanting it to be there. I mean, the person can get rid of it themselves if they want to. And all of those things about protection that we talked about earlier, white light and all that, that will detach it.
I have an issue getting attachments from investigations quite often, and I can't figure out why. I protect myself and all that sort of stuff, but I'd say 60% of them, something follows me, 60 to 70% of them. I'm not asking for it. They literally just follow me. Yep.
Okay. I think you need to put a stronger block up and put some more energy into that and just spread that out about 6 feet around you instead of the normal like 2 or 3 feet. You just go way, way out with this and just charge that until you feel like it's super solid. And then you'll be able to walk in there and then put that intention. You're not following me home. You're going to stay here.
Yeah.
I think that'll work.
Okay.
If it doesn't, give me a call.
Okay. Go get them.
Yeah.
Good. All right, Dave.
There's always danger, Margie, in helping somebody with their body, because there's always the chance that we as humans are going to be wrong, and because you're not technically a medical practitioner, you have to obviously be very careful with what you're telling a client, what might be wrong with their body, whether it's something as deadly as cancer or something as feeble as a stubbed toe or cramps or something along those lines. Where do you draw the line for safety with people?
Well, first of all, I tell them that what I'm doing is for entertainment purposes only. Okay. Secondly, I mean, they can take what I tell them and throw it out. But most people don't do that. They listen and then they get medical advice. Obviously, I'm not a medical professional. I tell them that up front. They need to go get some medical advice. Now, I may also get some information for things that they're supposed to eat or things that they're supposed to take, like, herbs or spices or certain foods. There are certain foods that keep coming up a lot, for the same ailment that their higher self will tell me. And I'll tell them just use their best judgment and discernment and try it or not try it. It's up to them.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a case where you have potentially gotten into trouble for that?
Never.
That's good.
Never.
That's good.
And I even have done work with chiropractors and nurses who've asked me to help diagnose. But that's at a distance and nobody knows about it because I am so accurate.
Wow.
You also work on police cases and cold case files. What's that like? Because I know from talking to police officers, they want to keep that very quiet. There's a lot of things the police keep very quiet. And I'm just curious what you know about that.
Well, first of all, I tell them that they can't write my name down anywhere. I don't want to be in that case file. I don't want any credit. I don't want my name used at all because the bad guys can get a hold of that. And I've worked some big cases against some big organized crime groups, and I don't want them to know what I do, who I am. So the other thing is they don't want anybody to know they're calling me. They don't want their bosses to know. So I keep it quiet on my end. And I've done work for multiple police detectives, private investigators, people with large organizations with 3 letters. And I wish I could do more of it, but there aren't that many who are, let's put it this way. I've scared some of them and they won't call me back because I'm so accurate. I can tell them exactly what happened on a case just by hearing the victim's name. And I'll be on that case and I will experience what the victim experienced, see and hear everything. And then I'll be able to follow the perpetrator to their house, get their name, their vehicle license plate number, the whole 9 yards. And they will go catch the criminal. In some cases, a big, huge, a number of people all at the same time. And I can't go any further than that on that one. But, they'll take all the credit. I don't care. I just want to help cases. And how I got started in that was years ago. I had a group of attorneys who were visiting me on a regular basis to have readings. They came like twice a year. And one of the attorneys called me one night. She said that her niece was missing. She didn't come home from the bus stop. And this was the first time that I tried remote viewing. So everything kind of fell into place for it. I thought, well, how am I going to help this lady? Got her on the phone. How am I going to find this girl? And all of a sudden I saw this line come out of my solar plexus and go out. So I said, well, I'm going to follow this. And I followed that line, which turns out was my etheric body. And I end up on a street corner and I see 2 street names. And I said, what do these names mean? She goes, oh my gosh, that's her bus stop. Exactly. So then I see the line go further down the street and stop in front of a house. And there's this golden light around this house. So that meant to me that this is where I need to be. And all of a sudden, then I'm raising up in the air, going over the house and into the backyard where a shed is. And then I could suddenly see inside the shed, and I see this girl lying on the ground. She has her hands and feet bound, and she has duct tape on her mouth. And she's asleep, so she's knocked out. Then I go back into the house, and I'm telling the woman on the line what is going on, what I'm seeing. And then I go into the house. I said, there's 3 people in there. There's a woman with long, stringy blonde hair and 2 rough-looking guys, and they're drinking beer. And she said, we've already been in that house. Excuse me. They knew that the woman had made friends with this 14-year-old, and they thought that was pretty weird because she was 30 or in her 30s. And they questioned her about it because the girl hadn't been seen, but she had been seen talking to this woman before, and they knew where she lived. They went in the house, the police questioned them and left. But they didn't go in the shed. So she says, okay, I'm going right now. I'm going over to that place. So she called up the detective and said, I'm going to go. And he didn't want her to, but she insisted. So he said, okay, I'm going with you. You're not going in that place alone, because those people looked rough. And there was a woman and 2 men, just like I said. They go back. They go in the shed. They find the girl, arrest the people. They were human traffickers. They were sending her out in the morning. She was going to be out of the country, gone. So that experience showed me one of the things I needed to be doing to help people, and how to remote view, because I had never done anything like that before. It was real time. It was like I was actually standing there, because I was, and that information was coming back to me. And ever since, I've used that on a regular basis and practice it, because that's another thing about this type of thing. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. So I use it every day. I use it in business. I use it with my husband, who's a contractor. He'll call me up and say, hey, where should I drill this hole? I don't want to hit a gas line. And I'll tell him to move his drill over, and it's the right place. So I scan buildings and cars and, look at cars and diagnose problems with them. So, it just runs the gamut. And it's all because Thor wanted to wake that ability up in me for a reason.
Interesting.
We've
only got about 3 minutes left with you tonight. This has flown on by, and I really do appreciate you joining us, Margie. And like I said, I want to get you back on, because there's just way too much that we could be talking about.
It was like a preview night.
I know. It was like a 2-hour Margie K infomercial. That's what it was. But I'm very impressed with you. Could you do us a favor? Let everybody know where they can find your podcast, your YouTube channel, your books, your website.
Well, the YouTube channel is UNX Media, or UNX News Network. Just search for that. You'll find it. MargieK.com is my main website. UNX Media is my publishing website, and I have a new radio network that's coming on at the end of October. We're going to have multiple shows on that. So, we do publishing, and I'm going to be doing, I've done conferences every year, but now they're going to be under UNX, and we're doing a UFO and paranormal conference next year in 2022. So a lot going on, and I've got some more books in the works. I've written 14 books, and I've got more coming. And really appreciate being here with you tonight. Really good questions, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, that's kind of what we do around here late at night up here on the west coast of Canada, is we like to have fun talking these subjects. And Merle, tell everybody where they can find your stuff, if you don't mind, for the Paranormal Road Trippers.
You must all go to YouTube now and subscribe to the Paranormal Road Trippers. And then after that, go to Instagram and find the Paranormal Road Trippers. I've been uploading videos like a hot damn the past couple weeks here, and they're all fantastic. So please go watch them.
And don't forget, you're one of them TikTokers. I
like a good TikTok every now and then. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, not me yet. Not me.
I'm surprised. Actually, very surprised.
I'm a private investigator, and I know about TikTok, so nope.
Not me either. Not me either. I haven't gone down the TikTok road yet. I just don't feel comfortable about it. I really don't.
Don't do it. I'm just telling you, don't do it.
And you know what? My intuition says you're right on that, just so you know. It really does say that you're right. But
you're right.
Yeah. Margie, what a pleasure meeting you. This was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun for both Merle and myself to get to know you a little bit more. And, if you need any Canadian speakers at that conference, you have one in the paranormal and one for UFOs right here.
The
we'll definitely talk about that for sure.
Well, let's stay in touch. And if you need any nighttime programming on your digital network that you're starting, we should talk to.
We should, yes.
All right.
Most definitely.
Thanks,
guys.
I'll put you right on the spot in front of my audience. That was kind of rude, but that's okay. That's
okay.
All right. Thank you to Margie K, margiek.com. Thank you to Merle for hanging on out with us and being my wonderful co-host of Ghosts of the Great White North. Coming up next, the Unbiased UFO Report with the fedora-wearing John Hudson. We'll be back after this on Spaced Out Radio. Great job, Margie K. Great job.
All right. Thank you. And thanks for the great questions. You guys are very, very good at what you do. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate you. I mean, what an absolute pleasure. That was a lot of fun, and I'm so glad we did this.
Me too. And we'll be in touch about the conference and the network and all of that.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Bye, Margie.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks.
She was awesome.
That was a strong show.
Very strong show. Merle, looking strong, buddy. Feeling strong. Look at the fedora wearing John Hudson right there. Styling.
Evening, Merle.
Yeah.
Evening, Merle. You brought on one hell of a guest, sir.
Yeah, that's good times. That's how Merle rolls in this world. And Merle, I mean, you want everybody. I got some questions in the audience, Merle. I got people asking, if I buy a Merle shirt, can I get Merle to autograph it?
What do I get out of that? No, I'm kidding. Maybe. Yeah, we can talk about it, Dave.
People need.
Do you still have your silver marker?
I can go get another one. You know what I noticed is the gold and silver Sharpies never last as long as the black ones. Like literally, I can use a black one for months. The gold and silver Sharpies, like they're dead over a weekend. It's terrible.
Yeah.
You know what I love, Merle, is how kind Dave is to you when you're on the show, considering how he talks about you when you're not around. You know.
That's what I've heard, dude. That's what I've heard.
Uh huh.
I have people listening in.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Yep. We got guests already for next month too, ready to go.
Why don't you warm us up? Who's coming on next month for the Halloween special?
For our Halloween special, we have Brandon Alves and Mustafa Gadalari from Ghost Hunters and all that fun stuff.
Right on. Mustafa's got a good beard and hair combination, nice and tight.
And Brandon will be bringing his cap.
He better, because the last time he didn't, and I was pissed off about that. He wears that cap everywhere, except he doesn't show it on the show. Pissed right off about that. But Margie K, how awesome was she? I mean, that lady lives an awesome, awesome life. I mean, could you imagine? Oh.
Well, the hard thing for me about listening to someone with her breadth is that, she'd say some things that I had a lot of trouble believing, and then she'd say other things that I know something about, and I'd be like, whoa, she's accurate. And then it makes you doubt your judgment on those other parts, and you're like, wow, what's going on here,
Mm-hmm. I was the same way. And, I think she's the perfect example of you can't judge a book by its cover, because I think she's one of those very special few people out there who actually can really make this stuff work for her. You know what I'm saying? Like, no BS, no lies, no hand tricks or anything like that. When she's sitting there,
I was gonna say, and she also follows a trend I see where people who are really good at this end up falling into usually a secret side job where they're either doing a lot of medical work or they're doing a lot of police support stuff, and they start really using their tools for good causes. So I totally agree with you, Dave. Sorry to cut you off.
No, absolutely. But Merle, we got to let you go because John and I got to get ready here for the show. And everybody, I'm going to quickly pull up YouTube here and get Merle's YouTube channel. Actually, the easiest way to find Merle's YouTube channel is go onto our channel, Spaced Out Radio, and then go into our community? What's it called? Hold on, I'll get it for you. Go into our channels. Click on channels, and you'll find the Paranormal Road Trippers right there. And it's right beside Nicole Sackich and Lynn Wallington's Paranormal Spirits. We have them on there, so that way you guys can go subscribe. I want to see all of our audience subscribe to Merle's channel. He's got some really cool stuff on there and cool videos on there, and that's the easiest way to find his channel. Let's try and get Merle up to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I want Merle to get 1,000 subscribers. So go to our channels on our YouTube channel, and then what you want to do is find Nicole Sackich. Merle's Paranormal Road Trippers is right beside it. Click on that, and let's get Merle up to 1,000 subscribers here, guys, because he deserves it. And he's my best friend, and I want to see him have success on YouTube as well. So if you could do that, Merle, we got to say goodnight to you, buddy.
All right, good night, guys.
We'll call you soon, okay, bud?
Ciao.
Right. All right. Let's get Merle out of here. And thank you to Spooky, Longhorn, Pascal, and Robert for the super chats tonight. Here we go, everyone. Let's get this thing rocking. Rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for hanging on out with us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight. We got to get to some UFOs here, and that means only one thing and one thing only. The fedora-wearing John Hudson and the unbiased UFO report. I love your theme song, man. Love your theme song. Little Bumblefoot there, rocking on out with The Day After. Oh, it just feels good. Feels good. John, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Happy to be here.
Always good to have you here, my friend. And you know, lots of UFO news coming once again. You know, I mean, I don't know where you are finding.
At Capella University, you're in control of your education. With the game-changing FlexPath format, you can set your own deadlines and move at your own pace. The faster you move, the more you save. Visit capella.edu to learn more.
This is the magic we've been waiting for. The Walt Disney World 50th anniversary calls us here. The world's most magical celebration is drawing near. Starting October 1st, join us and make the magic soar. Visit DisneyWorld.com/50 for more.
All of this story, but now we're looking into AI and technology to try and identify UFOs.
Yeah. So, and let me say that there's going to be more evidence, more information about this in about 2 days. Max is, and you know what? I apologize. I forgot Max's last name. I will include a link to his work in my notes.
Is that Max Moskowitz?
Yes. Thank you. And he was a gentleman, did the interview with Lou, over there. And so he's going to be releasing a video in 2 days where he covers the presentation that Lou Elizondo did, where he goes into more detail about this tool. But I wanted to kind of get people. I'm sure a lot of people were a little confused when I brought up the other day, and so I wanted to just take just 1 minute and just kind of explain why a tool like this can work. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
So for those of you that aren't aware of how machine learning works, the big difference, and machine learning is just what normal people call AI. is that, with a normal program, you just put data in and you get data out. With machine learning, you put data in, you get data out, you take the data out and you shove it back in to where it comes in again, and you loop it thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times. And so you don't tell it anything, you let it learn. So let me give you an example how this tool would work. If you take thousands upon thousands upon thousands of pictures of every plane, every balloon, every bird, every this, every that, every cloud, every this, and you can spend months during the learning process, and you feed these into this learning program, right? This learning algorithm, it will learn what normal looks like, right? Then you can go in and you can feed it GPS coordinates and locations and updated maps on what mountains are where, at what angle they'll be at what angle, depending on where you are and so forth. And then essentially what you're doing is now you've baselined normal. You know what normal looks like. And so anything outside of normal lights up like a Christmas tree. And so what this tool is going to do is it's going to provide a way where you can take a video that you've taken of what you think is a UFO and submit it to this tool, and it will chew on it, and it will use all that it's learned to figure out what it's not. And this is going to get us to a much closer place where we can fast fail things quickly. We can stop arguing to such fine green-tailed levels about certain aspects of the video, and we can have some confidence that what we're posting to Twitter or YouTube already has a little bit of credibility to it because you've put it through this tool.
So if I get this right, what they're doing is by magnifying all the airplanes, the fighter jets, weather balloons, satellites, birds, whatever is in the sky, they are basically creating algorithms to what those are and what their trajectories are, their sizes are. Am I right with this?
Yeah, and it's essentially you're teaching it everything that's normal, right? And once it knows what normal is, I mean, just like you could baseline your electricity in your house over the course of a year, and you'll know every July what's normal. And if someone's tapping power out your back door, you're going to see it right away. It's going to stand out like a sore thumb, right? Because you know what normal is. And so this learns normal through a machine learning algorithm. And from that normal, things that aren't normal show up. And then the example Lou Elizondo gives in his presentation, it looks like a UFO. It really does. And it ends up being a tent, if I remember correctly. Something really mundane. So you actually get to see how the tool works.
That is very, very cool. Very cool. When can we see a launching of this, or is it already here?
My understanding is that it's still in development. Lou Elizondo said that he's not the one developing it. He is consulting with it. There is a demonstration of the tool in Elizondo's presentation, but as far as actually when the tool will be available, I don't know. I do know his plan is to roll it out worldwide, because one of the things he specifically said, and this language speaks to you, Dave, is he wants to take the narrative out of the hands of governments and put it into the hands of the people.
Well, I mean, that's a brave thing to say. And if this is a government project, the chances of that happening are slim to none. I understand his want, but there is a need as well.
Well, yeah, and my understanding is this is not a government project.
Really?
This is a private project. Yes.
Oh, okay, so let me ask you this. With this private project, we've seen the rise and fall of Skyhub. We've seen the rise and fall of other programs that were going to be the next best thing. Why should we put faith that this project is going to come to light?
Because of the fact that if you have any experience with open source projects, there's a momentum and an energy level management issue. And so when you have a figurehead that has charisma or has pull, it's amazing how they can drive a project to completion. It'll blow your mind. You can see really bad projects succeed and really good projects fail because they don't have someone who's really motivating them to come to fruition.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Good job on that one, John. Really good job on that one. All right, let's move on to our next topic tonight. And, you know, the UAPTF, we know that is now being dissolved for a new office for UAP research. What's some of the changes that you're seeing?
Well, I want to caveat that this is one of the things that we're going to get to right after this is that there are two different bills, okay? So the bill that we read the other day, that's the House bill, right? The Senate bill is different. But assuming the House bill prevails, which personally I believe it will, then this is what I want to talk about now, because this is really cool. So previously, the UAPTF was in the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, and it was being cared for by the U.S. Navy, okay? And so the Undersecretary of Defense Intelligence is basically a group underneath the Secretary of Defense. Now, I don't mean to speak negatively about the people that run that organization. It's a very high-ranking organization, but it's still not SecDef. It's still not the primary organization. The proposal that the House is giving is to essentially move and it's now establish the UAP department, or whatever they're going to call it, actually directly into the Office of the Secretary of Defense. So this not only takes it out of a intelligence-specific organization, but puts it under the person that drives the entire DoD.
Okay. So
it's an upgrade.
Is this good for UFOs?
Yes. For multiple reasons. One, because as much as I will usually lean toward an intelligence organization just due to the capabilities they usually have, they still have one point of view. Okay, the Secretary of Defense must look at things through many angles, not just intelligence. And so you're going to have someone who's taking a much more holistic view to what's going. I mean, look, it's still a DoD program, right? I mean, let's be honest here, right? But what you have now is a much more senior person with a lot more control and a much bigger view of the tent overseeing the program.
Okay, so isn't there any danger between getting all of this politics and defense contractors and everybody involved in UFOs?
Of course, but here's the thing. One of the things that this whole movement is completely lacking is credibility. And while a lot of us in this community may have some shade thrown toward the intelligence or the DoD organizations, the truth of the matter is that in the general population, in the world population, if the U.S. military says something and the U.S. president says something, it has clout. It has credibility to a certain degree. And so having them as a partner is a really good thing. Being dependent upon them is not.
Okay. So if I get this straight, they're taking the UFOs away from the alphabet agencies and putting them under the Department of Defense. Am I correct on that? Or will the other agencies still have theirs?
Sorry. No, it does get very confusing. So basically, all the alphabet agencies most of them anyway, are outside of this, right? They're outside of the DoD, except for certain agencies like the DOE and I believe the NSA, and it gets very confusing. There are several intelligence organizations within the DoD. There are several intelligence agencies outside of the DoD. Most of the ones that you hear people talk about are outside of the DoD. There are some of them that are inside the DoD. This Undersecretary of Defensive Intelligence had purview over things like the DOE, but it doesn't have purview over, perhaps, for example, the CIA.
Okay, what kind of changes? And this is where I get curious with this because, I think it's great that we're finally going to see a public forum, that this is getting public funding, public support from the government. What could shoot this down? What could bring this bill out of your Congress or out of your Senate and throw it to the garbage?
So there's a small chance someone could shoot at it, right? Or Rand Paul, someone like that, right? But I would say the bigger risk is that essentially there has to be a consolidation. There has to be a point where they take the two bills and they merge them together. Okay, there are priorities that everyone has as to what they do. There are timelines they have to do this integration. So you could get down to a point where they're so rushed, they have so much left to do that they're moving too quickly. And for some reason, they end up taking the Senate language over the House language. And the problem with the Senate language is it's not bad. It's the exact same thing we've had up till now. All the Senate did was just carbon copy what we've already had in there into their side of the bill. Whereas the House, they actually wrote something new that was much more aggressive and much more detailed. And so realistically, they should take the more detailed one over the one that is pre-existing, because all they did was just carbon copy it. But depending on schedules and priorities and so forth, it could get dropped out the bottom, just depending on how much, how stringent the workload is.
Okay.
I would say that bureaucracy is a bigger risk to it than someone targeting it.
And what is the purpose of the more aggressive bill? What is the big difference between the two? Is it money? Is it money? Is it technology? Is it who is involved?
Oh man, it's like the difference between getting like regular old cookies and like the most magical cookies you could love. It basically, I highlight in what I'm going to post. I'm going to highlight the areas of it that I think are really interesting. But it's in the House bill that they specifically call out the different ints that they need data from. It's in the House bill that they specifically call out the harm it's being done to humans and wanting to research that. It's in the House bill that they specifically call out and say that any downed craft that have been recovered that are being converted to any technology must be reported on. All the details, all that stuff that we talked about the other night that I was so excited about, that only exists in the House one.
Okay, so when it comes to crash retrievals, and we're going to change topics right after this, when it comes to crash retrievals, do we really believe that if there is a crash retrieval, let's say a UFO crashes in North Dakota, do we really believe that that is going to make it to public consumption?
Yeah, well, but it depends on so many things, Dave, right? Because the thing is that, you take that thing apart, right? And sure, any kind of technology they derived for it that's going to be weapons focused, it'll disappear, and in 30 years it'll show up on a plane and everyone will be like, wow, look what we invented, right? But there will be all sorts of other things that you learn from it that don't. So you take, for example, there's a type of foldable memory metal that Battelle produces. Okay, that memory metal, there's strong suggestions that was derived from a recovery. Okay, we don't know it for sure, but there's hints, right? That memory metal goes into people's prosthetics, right? That memory metal goes into all sorts of products that we use today that are very, very good for all of us. So we already have possibly seen it come to fruition in the public, but we'll claim credit for it.
Absolutely. 30 seconds. Your thoughts on Elon Musk raising a storm on Twitter. I'm going to have a story on this on the news next, but it's basically saying UFOs are out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the negative one today, and I couldn't take this seriously, because if you look at the actual message, it was Elon talking about a height to video pixel directly needing groups of classifications for pixels into objects, and he makes a joke about UFOs, and then he follows it up with I'm not saying there are UFOs, but there are UFOs, which is just a redo of the meme of Giorgio
Tsoukalos.
What's his name? Tsoukalos. And so essentially I think he's just trolling the guy. I mean, I really do. I think he's just trolling the guy. I don't think it was serious, but no one cares. The people want Elon Musk to be on the side of UFO Twitter. So people are so conflicted because they think Elon's so smart and he knows so many things, but then he doesn't believe in this. And it's like, it makes them mad, and they want to merge that together badly.
All right, John, we'll talk to you in a couple nights' time. Thank you for another wonderful, unbiased UFO report. Stellar job, my friend.
Thank you, sir. You guys have a good evening.
All right, take care. That's Stetson John, otherwise known as Fedora John. Let's get to the news. Shirky Poo's got us all sorted out here. As we said right off the bat, Elon Musk causing a stir on Twitter, all because of a tweet saying, I'm not saying there are UFOs, but there are UFOs, the entrepreneur tweeted out, provoking a frenzy of responses and memes from his followers. Elon phone home, Mars, one commentator wrote. while others welcomed Mr. Musk to hashtag UFO Twitter and shared pictures of clouds with alleged extraterrestrial origins. Some social media users even wanted to know if the SpaceX program had captured its own evidence of alien intelligences and if they would release the secrets. Mr. Musk's comments come in the wake of a plan by the U.S. Congress to establish a dedicated governmental office to investigate sightings of UFOs by the military. Elon just knows how to play his words on social media. Glad to see hashtag UFO Twitter, though, get into that article, for sure. Turns out cows can be potty trained. Yep, it's no bull. Scientists put the task to test, and 11 out of 16 cows learned to use the moo-loo when they had to go. Just like some parents, the researchers used a sweet treat to coax the cows to push through a gate and urinate in a special pen. And it only took 15 days to train the young calves. Some kids take quite a bit longer. The cows are at least as good as children aged 2 to 4 and at least as quick, study author Lindsay Matthews said. And the reason for all of this, well, believe it or not, there is a reason. And it's because they're trying to contain a lot of the chemicals that cow urine has, like nitrogen. When it's mixed with feces, it becomes ammonia, which is an environmental issue with acid rain and other problems. So, the moo-loo is now a thing. How cool is that? See if it works. An 820-foot bridge suspended over an Ontario highway was awarded a Guinness World Record as the world's longest enclosed pedestrian bridge. The Pickering Pedestrian Bridge, which was built by Metrolinx over Highway 401, was verified by Guinness as the world's longest enclosed pedestrian bridge after it was officially measured at 820 feet long. Metrolinx spokeswoman Anne-Marie Aikens said the bridge was completed in September 2018, and the transit agency decided to apply for the world record in 2020, and they got it. Very cool. Finally tonight, a first edition of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein set a new world record for a printed work by a woman when it was auctioned off at $1.17 million. The 3-volume copy of Frankenstein, which still bears its original boards from its 1818 printing, had been projected to sell between 200 and 300 grand. Nope, absolutely blew that away, and Frankenstein lives on. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask the listeners a question. Today's question is, paranormally speaking, what scares you? Haunted History BC, possibility of attachments or possession, night gazer, creepy abandoned places. All right. I want to know in the UK, Big Bad John experiencing the joy of the paranormal Geordie, the Demon Seed. Secret Machines Dave, that there is no afterlife. Andrew, not knowing what you're dealing with. Strafe, Dr. Stephen Greer, if there ever was an evil specter with a twisted lizard smile. Toby, nothing, probably would be excited to death instead of scared. Oscar, Black-Eyed Kids, those stories freak me out. 13 Ballads. My late mother coming back as a vampire. Her final years were tough on her body. Blind, double leg amputation, sepsis, yellowing her skin. So as a vampire, she'd scare Count Dracula himself. Thank you to everybody in the Thought of the Day. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the news. And of course, John Hudson for the UFO Report. And Margie and Merle for a great Ghost of the Great White North. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, yes, we've got room for them too. Good night.
In South Dakota, we're looking forward to exploring new roads and wide open spaces. When you're ready to travel, go great places. Learn more at TravelSouthDakota.com.
Own the road with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Whether you're cruising through Nashville on I-40, heading down I-90 to Boston, or touring Santa Cruz in the 5, you'll be covered by the largest 5G network. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles in America with 5G.
See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com. Most reliable according to independent third-party Umlaut from crowdsourced user experience data from January to July 2021. Fastest according to Open Signal Awards based on average speeds in USA. 5G user experience report July 2021.